Okay, we're on. Good evening and welcome to January 7th, 2016 Planning Board meeting. We're going to be dealing with zoning ordinances, but first we have to talk about, I forgot the people's name already, Walton off Maplewold. Is that name right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, the name
good.
is Walton, and I'm here representing them.
Not off Maple, yeah, yes. Yes, Daniel Erickson is here representing them. This is the one that we walked 3 weeks ago, 3 Saturdays ago, something like that. And you're in a butter.
Yeah, I'm recusing myself, but I'm just going to
I understand. So I'm going to appoint John a voting member. This is the one that had a subdivision done in '88, creating a subject lot as a bona fide gift with no frontage. Is everybody familiar with this?
Yep.
Okay. Then in '91, another subdivision done with another lot. '92, another subdivision done with a third lot. All three of those lots access the same driveway easement. We have a letter from, I believe you have it, from our attorney, dated November 22nd.
I don't think I have it with me, but yes, my sister
Okay.
has it.
I know the Waltons got it at one point, yes.
They do.
So, and the selectman asked us for a recommendation for making it a private road, or I guess that would be the option of the selectman, to make it a private road. I personally didn't see any issues with the driveway except for that little bit of drainage at the very front that we looked at, that Tim Redmond had talked about. The water for the first 100 feet of the driveway comes right down the driveway, washes out in the road, washes out the road culvert a little bit. The only other issue I saw is, according to the map, which I've already buried, that the Waltons provided us, done by Mike Dahlberg. It shows the driveway outside of the easement. A portion of it, I should say. So it doesn't show the whole thing, the whole lot's not shown, but the driveway's shown and the easement is shown. The driveway's not in the easement. Yeah, Bruce Fillmore wrote up a really nice little letter. I don't know if everybody has that or wants to have it. Basically, I outlined part of it already. Personally, I feel some surveying should be done to make sure that driveway is in the easement, or the easement relocated. Obviously, B is remove the easement and to relocate the driveway. And the one plan, which one was it now? According to Bruce's notes, plan number 22818 showed a small area to be deeded to the town for drainage along Maplewold. This isn't it. I don't know if that deed was ever written, recorded. It may have been, may not have been.
I don't think I'm familiar with something deeded to the town.
There was supposed to have been, according to the one plan. Hopefully it's this one. Yeah, it shows a small road drainage and maintenance easement, roughly 35 by 200 feet. I don't know if that's ever been deeded to the town. Just want to make sure it is.
May I?
Sure, certainly. This, which would be here, I assume, all the whole way along the frontage.
Okay. apologize, I don't think I've ever seen that, but I would have no problem with that. You said it's 35.
You know, it's 35 here, 40-something, if you move it, 48 on that side. So it's 50 by 30, something like that,
Okay.
roughly. Through there.
Okay.
I mean, it was a condition of this approval. I assume, I don't know if it's been deeded or not. We just should check to make sure. It's for some reason, the town wanted it.
All of the deeds recently, and I don't recall seeing that. But, you know, the historical changes of the deeds is a little bit confusing to me.
I understand.
But I don't recall seeing this one.
That was the first.
That was the first,
That was the first one of the bunch.
that was the subdivision that created the lot that Walton's owned.
Okay. It seemed like some of the other things weren't carried on when the subdivisions continued, and that might be,
I didn't see that in the other subdivision plans.
yeah, so that might be why I didn't see it.
And just while you're standing here. This is, according to Mike Dahlberg, this is the deeded right of way, and over here's the driveway.
Mhm.
So obviously should be moved over. And
Right.
this is provided by the Waltons
Yes.
at our site walk.
Yes. Regarding the drainage, they did have an engineer come out and he made some verbal recommendations. I don't know if the board would like to hear what he recommended.
Certainly.
Um,
Can you go to the podium, please? So the whole, we have a large live audience just waiting for your words of wisdom.
So what she wrote is, the following measures are proposed for making improvements to the first 200 feet of this private road. I can give you this in writing if it's helpful. Swales on each side of the driveway/entry will be appropriately graded and formed to encourage water runoff to the sides of the driveway and not into Maplewald Road. The driveway crown will be raised enough to ensure minimal channeling of the water down the center line and into the street. So in other words, if it's crowned, it'll go to the edges. The culvert pipe currently in existence will be replaced and either widened or lengthened as recommended to avoid siltation at either end. Every effort will be made to minimize the degree of the angle of the private road where it enters Maplewald. However, it must be noted that the existing driveway already has a slope that may exceed 10% in places, just at the beginning of the driveway. And Maplewald Road itself has an extreme slope at the point of entry. Hence, mitigation measures may need to be modified to avoid negative impact on the existing road. Appropriate loaming and seeding of the swale shall ensure the growth of moisture-retaining vegetation and minimize runoff and water erosion. If necessary, small earthen berms may be built to prevent runoff from eroding certain areas. Since Maplewald Road is not a paved road, no asphalt apron shall extend into the street. The applicant shall hire or consult appropriate contractors to complete this work. All repairs to be inspected and approved by Board of Selectmen before issuance of permit. Approved mailboxes will be installed for both 278 and 280 in accordance to regulation. A street sign indicating the private road as well as the proposed name shall be installed by the applicants. The street name shall be approved by the Board of Selectmen. And the proposed name is Sparrow Lane.
Sparrow?
Sparrow.
Who was the engineer? Out of curiosity more than anything.
I apologize, I forget his name, and I didn't realize Chip wasn't going to be here. He was someone that Chip had recommended.
Okay.
And again, this was 4 months ago.
Is there a date on that one? Is it- Or is it not a letter, just notes?
This isn't a letter, this is the proposed improvements. It's a description of the existing road. And then below are at the bottom, are the
Recommendations.
recommendations. I also brought a locus map. And Chip had told us to bring an application for a zoning hearing.
Yes,
Yes.
you will need a variance, yes.
So I did bring that. I brought the subdivision plan, and I did bring the affidavit, because they're on vacation, and this
Oh.
is just.
The affidavit saying you can represent them, yes.
And they, again, we want to thank everybody for coming and doing the sidewalk, and apologize for not making it to the last planning board meeting, because it was just a misunderstanding.
I understand.
We misunderstood the date.
We should have, maybe, I thought we said it 2 or 3 times, but that's okay.
Well, I apologize.
Yeah.
And,
Worse things have happened.
and they had booked this vacation a year in advance, so.
Well, that's no reason. Hope they went someplace warm.
Aruba.
Yeah, that's a good place to go, yeah.
Yeah, a friend of theirs has a timeshare and invited them to go. So.
Did anybody consider, there's some, the water that comes, from my memory, there's water that gets channeled to the driveway, runs down the driveway, and it's probably more than 200 feet that it starts, gets on the driveway, from the house and everything else gets into the driveway. And I thought that maybe an outlet, or whatever you want to call it, water bar on the driveway to divert the water out of the driveway. Anything said about that? You and I talked about it.
Nothing.
Yeah, but that wasn't more than 200 feet up, was it?
No.
No, but the water was coming from further up.
Well, that may be, but
It was only like 120 or something like that, that I'm
Yeah.
thinking of. It's probably more than 100, but definitely less than
I
200.
understood it, the first 200 feet of the driveway was going to be restructured.
Yes.
Right,
Which-
and,
which-
so several things. If it's, again, if it's crowned properly, the
Yeah.
water should go to both
True.
sides.
Yep.
And, he discussed swales on each side of the driveway, to encourage runoff.
Mm-hmm.
And there are actually, there's already a swale on the high side of the driveway, but because
Yes.
it's not crowned properly, the
water-
water doesn't go into it.
Right.
So the driveway crown will be raised. Appropriate loaming and seeding of the swales to ensure that the moisture retaining vegetation minimizes the runoff and erosion. He had said if necessary, small earthen berms to direct the water flow. But he felt that crowning it is what really needs.
Well, the earthen berms would be in the ditches probably to slow the water down so they don't erode the ditch, wash away the vegetation. That's
Right, or even above, in the driveway itself if necessary, but he didn't think it would be necessary.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments? For the minutes, can you make sure we note that all 3 of these lots were bona fide gift lots approved prior to 92? So we don't seem to be setting a precedent to making private roads. And the easement was shown on all 3 of the subdivision plans.
For 1992.
Yes, 1992 and prior.
And had easements on them?
Pardon me?
And had easements on them, you said?
Yes, the first one showed the easement, and the other 2 also showed the same easement. other comment?
Anything from the public or abutters?
Nobody was notified, but anybody from public like to comment? I kind of figured I knew why those three people were here. In that case, I'll close the public hearing. Any motions? Or do you want me to try that?
I'll make a motion that we recommend to the selectmen, which is our charge at this point on this case,
Right, we aren't approving anything, we're making a
Right.
recommendation,
Right.
yes.
that they approve what's to be known as Sparrow Lane as a private road with some stipulations. The first one being that the easement shown on plan number 22818 of the Hillsborough County Register of Deeds, in fact, be deeded to the town as per the plan. Two, that the easement shown on all three plans, 22818, 25546, and 25824, be modified so that the as-built driveway location falls within the easement. And that the first stipulation be that the portion of the driveway that abuts Maple Wald Road and runs to the first
200 feet?
driveway,
200
your driveway
feet.
about 200 feet, be modified so as not to allow water to flow out onto Maple Wald Road, as per recommendations of an engineer here, I don't, whose name we don't know, and the town road agent, DPW director, whatever it is.
Has his title.
Hmm?
Has his title, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it?
I think that's it.
I'll second it.
Can we make sure we add that the Sparrow Lane gets approved by fire chief and all those guys? I don't want to say, I don't want to say that we are going to say that's the road name for sure.
Right.
No big deal.
Proposed road.
I wasn't able to find any naming convention guidelines, and would be happy to consider other things. It was just,
Yeah, it's just a phone call and Chip can run it through
sure.
the fire and 911 and make sure there's not something, maybe there's a wheelbarrow lane or something like that sounds like Sparrow, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that sounded clear, easy to say.
Yep.
For a dispatcher.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Chip did want me to remind you, you have to go to selectmen also.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're meeting Monday. I know, he told me they definitely meet Monday. So you may want to try to get to the selectmen's meeting on Monday.
Okay, and they will be back this weekend, so they were planning on
Perfect.
coming in on Monday.
Perfect.
I have a whole pile of stuff that I was planning on giving to Chip, but it seems like I should, you don't want it, right? I should wait until we can see Chip on Monday.
Well, at the
Hopefully
very
he'll be
bottom
here.
it says, leave everything on table and I will take care of it in the morning. From Chip.
If he's here.
Well, he's been in every morning.
Oh, yeah.
He's been, well, not every morning, I don't think, but he's been in most mornings. So if you leave with us, I'll make sure Chip gets it.
Okay, or, I mean, because there are checks in there too, as far
Oh,
as the
okay. Don't leave that
for
laying
the
around.
butter list and stuff.
Yeah, you don't want to leave that laying around.
Okay, so I can come in tomorrow morning.
Okay. Do you need this back?
No, I don't. So are you going to give that to, or do you want me to give her a second
I'm
copy?
just gonna hand it to her right now.
Do you need that affidavit or anything?
Yeah, I should have that. Chip should have that in the file, yes.
Well, I can give you the whole package.
You sure?
Well, I won't give you my whole bag full.
Well, that's the plan that shows easement.
It is?
This one.
Oh, okay. You're right.
No, yeah. No, that's not it.
Either way, I mean,
Yeah, it
it's not a problem.
Yeah, it's that one.
Do it. This is everything that she told me to leave.
Okay.
The other stuff was for the zoning board application.
Okay.
And so and that's what has the checks with it.
Chip's file. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So you still have to go to the zoning board and the selectmen? Just reminding you.
Okay, so zoning board Monday,
No, selectmen is Monday.
selectmen Monday.
Pardon me?
ZBA won't meet.
Yeah, ZBA's not until February, and I don't, was it the Tuesdays they meet?
I think it was February 13th that Chip told us.
Yeah, but you gotta file 21 days prior to that.
Right, which is,
Right.
that's the application, I think, but I'll come in tomorrow and talk to Chip and
Okay.
because I have the copies ready.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you again for your time, I appreciate it.
I think everybody's here to talk about signs. Well, these are just more copies of the same thing, okay?
Before we start on this Article 34, do we want to get the other stuff out of the way? The other articles that...
If you're up and running, I think they're worried about Article 34 and not everything
Okay,
else.
it'd be just a moment till this comes off.
Okay.
Were there any handouts for that? I had a chance to Chip last week to get one, but they just denied it, because they figured there'd be something tonight. If there isn't, that's okay.
If Tina can make copies, yes.
Or even if I can borrow one.
Well, the
Borrow.
other option, if you'd like, I'm
You
going
make-
to be
make
projecting it on
3 or 4
screen if you
copies?
want.
Please.
The only problem is, you know, I can sit up there and read from that. Not as good as a hard copy in front of you.
No, I
No, it's
agree.
not. It's hard to make notes on that.
Why don't I go get a drink of water?
Good idea.
To make you move, but you'll have to.
I need to stretch.
Been out in the woods working?
Today I was, yes.
Good weather.
Unexpectedly, but yes. Good weather except surveyors tend to put their control points flush to the ground so people don't pull them out and wipe them out. Well, in Bedford, the snow is different than it is in Weare. It's actually not snow, it's ice. I took a bar and beat around for 20, 25 minutes between two of us to try to find our control point. And here we found something else that was metal. So we went someplace else and found something else, the metal detector, beat around there for another 20 minutes and found something else that was metal. Finally, the third time, we found the right point. I hate winter. Everything just takes a lot longer.
So if you find anything valuable, who keeps it?
Yeah.
And that- all I ever find is pieces of barbed wire fence and things like that. I've never found anything any good. But a job that should have taken 2 hours travel time max to 3.5. It's like, but yes, it's good weather. It wasn't cold. The copy she's making has my handwritten notes on the side of it. I just realized that. Oh, well.
Appreciate the accommodation. Could have done it last.
Yeah, thank you.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'll slide backwards. Well, what's up with that? Okay, we seem to have a whole bunch of, at least I have, several renditions of the same thing. I was gonna say, which one are you opening, mister?
Whichever one we want to start with.
The bottom one is the one I got.
This one?
That's it, yes. I believe.
You're gonna do that first?
Well, that's.
Okay,
I think it's easier to, because everybody's had this one a while.
This one we have with the blue and yellow.
2 days?
I sent that out quite a while ago.
Oh, the one you got? This
Yes.
one here?
Yes, that one,
Oh, okay, I would have that for a while.
yes.
That's not the line yet, though, is it?
No, this one we don't have it.
Well, yes, but I just left the comments by Neil up on the top accidentally. Please ignore the comments by Neil Kirk, December 17th, 2015, because that's typed by Craig in December or something. What I tried to do with this, I sent out a couple documents. We had taken the one from the subcommittee, which had bold and strike-throughs in it, and added more. It got very confusing to me trying to read it, what we were actually trying to propose, because things were crossed out and everything else. So this is what I thought was, I call it a semifinal, for lack of a better word. In my mind, that's what I call it anyway. I looked through this, and I looked through the one Neil sent. Two days ago? Yesterday?
2 days ago,
2 days ago.
Tuesday.
And I have that also.
But that's dated the 7th,
Yes.
and that reflects, according to the minutes, what you folks did
Oh, I see.
on the
Crossed out the wrong one.
17th.
Here we
And
go.
I have that if we need it to.
That's the 7th. This is the
Yeah, that's this one.
latest and greatest.
Yeah, except Neil, I went through it.
If I made any mistakes, then they need to be corrected, but that was supposed to be strictly a
The com-
formal statement of what the board did without, except where I'd written in parentheses something about it, or where I gave you the date on which the board acted.
I saw it. How do I say this? Well, they're both the same until you get to the commercial district.
Correct.
And that's where I saw some
Okay.
inconsistencies. That's the word I wanted. So it doesn't really matter which one you have in your hand, but when you get to the commercial internal lighting thing, that's where. for everybody that has a copy, the first thing we're gonna do is 34.2 is gonna be deleted, the definitions, because there is the same definition is gonna be in Article 4.1, rather than having two definitions in two different places, it would be confusing. So the definitions are all gonna be in Article 4.1.
What about 34.1?
34.1 we have changed,
Well,
right?
we haven't changed it from what we did before, but since we're amending the existing zoning ordinances, the language in 34.1 that's bolded and
Yes.
italicized is new.
Is new, yes.
And so that, if the board approves that,
Okay.
that would be a change that would have to go into the ordinance before the voters.
So is everybody following us?
I have a question for you. You say 34.2 is going to be deleted and put on the 4.1.
Yes.
Where is 4.1? Is that under this?
It's a different,
ordinance article?
it's Article 4.1 of the zoning ordinances. It has all the definitions in it.
Okay,
This wording is gonna be,
so you're just taking it out of here?
it's just moved it out of here, put into 4.1, yes. And there already is a definition in 4.1.
I have it up on the screen.
So 34.1, we're doing a slight change to the purpose, and mostly it's because of that court case Reed.
Right.
So there's a slight change in the purpose.
And I think the same thing is true with respect to the definition.
Yes.
So 34.2 will be deleted, is that correct?
Yes.
But the same thing will be,
It'd be deleted and then put into 4.1 definitions.
Yes.
Same date.
everything, this should be the same as December 12th until you get to changes that were made.
You're looking on the same document?
I'm working on the same one, I'm working on the 7th,
All right.
because it has less junk in it.
Yes.
You're there too?
Yes, we're all in the same one on it again, yes. So 34.3, we aren't proposing any changes. 34.3.1 is we're proposing to delete the entire thing, which was saying had to come to the planning board for approval. Deleting that whole section. Illumination standards. Basically, we're allowing internally lit signs in the commercial and industrial districts only. And externally lit signs have to be shielded from white light from above. 34.4.2.
34.4.1, internally lit signs are allowed in commercial and industrial zones. That is in there.
Yes.
Right, right,
Yes.
okay, all right.
I got a question on 34.4.1.
Yes. What's that?
Well, this is the original, well, we didn't change anything, so I guess I'll just forget the question.
Well, we can change it. What's all right?
Well, I couldn't quite figure out what it meant without the light source being visible from any residential dwelling, any roadway.
Figure out how to get back.
I mean, it seems like without the light source, I mean,
My understanding is if that's the sign, we have a light bulb
Yep.
here shining down on it.
yep.
It's gonna have to be shielded, so the bulb itself can't be
So
seen.
just talking about a bulb shield.
Right.
Okay.
That's the way I understand it.
Yeah, the source would be in the bulb itself.
Right. You'd see the light, you wouldn't see the bulb.
Right.
We are deleting 34.4.2, which, yes.
I have
So-
a problem with that, because that means that any sign can be lit 24 hours a day, 365 days a year with absolutely no restrictions.
Yes,
And
it
I don't
does.
think that is appropriate for Weare.
That's the way it currently is, though.
No. Right now,
No,
under the current ordinance, it says,
On
everything is crossed.
3422, or 3442?
Correct.
yes.
Okay.
It says, any sign related to a business, etc., may be illuminated only when the operation is open. That's the current statute. The proposal is to delete that. The effect of deleting that is to allow any sign relating to a business, profession, a commodity, or service illuminated 365 days a year, 24 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's inappropriate for a rural community. So I know that's something that the board agreed to
Well-
on the 12th.
Kind of. Well, I think we did agree to it on the 12th. I'm gonna say kind of, because I know that I was wondering if we wanted to have them on all the time. We talked about turning them off 10 to 5, or we had discussions about that. I know you mentioned it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
certainly
I-
wasn't in favor of it at that time. You were kind of on the fence, and there were a couple people that thought it was
I
okay.
think it's,
Some people thought for 911 purposes it was important to have the sign to
well, not
say
just 911, but just general.
people getting off work at third shift, second shift, whatever. I'm still on the fence, to be blunt about it. I don't.
Well, I know we had talked about a compromise of having a dark period.
Yes, I don't know, and the audience can certainly speak up at any time. I don't see a whole lot of value from the commercial end to have a sign lit at 2 o'clock in the morning. The traffic is, in a rural community, is next to zero.
For the cost versus benefit. Minimal.
I would think. So I don't know if we could come up with a time period for a dark time. And I'm open to suggestions from everybody.
Greg, can I just say that
Certainly.
I can think of at least 4 different signs in the town now that are on 24 hours a day.
Yep.
And I don't see a problem. I don't know what the influx of new signs will be and where they'll be, but I can't imagine if we're talking industrial or commercial zone, that they're gonna be in anybody's neighborhoods with those lights 24 hours a day will affect anybody.
This applies
Well-
to the entire town, not just to those zones. This applies to your
I
neighbor.
thought, well, okay, we're, still there's restrictions within any particular zone in town.
Th-
Yeah, it applies to every zone, residential, everybody could have a lit sign. It's not just a commercial industrial.
Yeah. I don't, unless you want to, I would think that commercial and industrial zones should be able to have their signs on 24 hours a day. If you wanted to restrict it to other zones not having their signs on 24 hours a day, I could buy into that.
Have dark hours in residential and village, rural ag.
Well,
Everything but commercial and industrial.
I thought John was suggesting keep this as it is, so that in certain zones, everything except commercial and industrial, this would stay in effect, but for commercial or industrial, they could have them on 24/7, 365. I think that's what he was suggesting.
So right now, as it reads from the version that was approved last year, if you will, any sign related to a business or profession or to a commodity or service sold or offered for sale may be illuminated only when the operation is open.
I think that's
too restrictive.
Well, what we're saying, what we're
saying
thinking about,
only in the residential, village,
Yeah.
and RA districts. This would not apply in the CI district, in the commercial or industrial districts. That was what
I think from an enforceability standpoint, you need to have set hours across the board. Not just for when,
Well, I don't think that's a good idea, Bruce. I mean, I'm thinking, you try to think, how does this affect me? And if my neighbor across the street.
no, it's a tough,
Yeah, and I would not be happy if he had a, whatever, light 24/7.
that's why I said we need to, it
Well,
would have to be
Oh, I see.
set hours, not just
Yeah.
saying when they're open.
what would stop a gunsmith from being open 24/7
Exactly.
in your rural agricultural district?
Anybody could say that they're open 24/7,
Yeah.
but that's why I
You
think,
knock on the door, I'll wake up, come down, answer the door, and I'm open.
yeah. That's why I think you can't go by a statement like that. I think it needs to be a specific hour.
How about this? In the rural agricultural, residential, and village districts, any sign related to a business, etc., may be illuminated only between the hours of between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. In other words, during sleeping hours, and I'm 10 o'clock
Right,
to 6 o'clock, you can't have your sign on. But during the other hours, you can have your sign on.
I think that's how we need to word it. There needs to be something for specific hours,
Specific.
not just when we're open or, that kind of. Strictly for enforcement purposes, if nothing else.
I would prefer to word that slightly different, as to say, any sign in the commercial industrial districts related to a business may be illuminated 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Any other sign can be illuminated from 6 to 10, because we got a manufactured housing district, so we got,
Yeah, I was thinking there was some distance.
there's some other districts that I don't want to think we skipped accidentally. So if we list a commercial industrial first and then say all others, it would do the same thing, but not have us forget about. I know we're all thinking rural agricultural residential village, but I know there's at least a residential manufactured housing, or whatever it's called. I thought you were gonna type.
I'm waiting for a version that everybody agrees on.
Let's put this up just as a start.
Sure. What do
I
you got?
was gonna say, you start
In the
typing
commercial-
something.
In the commercial and industrial districts, signs may be illuminated at any time, period. In all other districts, and then the language, any sign related, etc., may be illuminated only between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m.
Say, and 10p?
Yeah, and in fact, we don't need to have all that other stuff about businesses. You
No,
can say,
we don't.
in any other district, signs may only be illuminated between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m.
You might go to 5 a.m.
5 a.m.
I mean, you see various breakfast.
That's right, they start early, so, yeah.
Yeah. Besides that, a lot of people would leave for work at 4 or 6. Catch us, at least see the sign in the morning.
Where is that now?
What about the second shifters coming home at 11 o'clock? Do we want to just go to midnight then?
No.
No,
There are people going to sleep at 9 o'clock.
not in the residential rural
There are people
agriculture.
still sleeping at 5.
That's true, and that's why I said
Yeah.
6. But,
I'm still sleeping at 6 too. Sleep all the time.
but I think you have, in the other districts, I think you really have to be considered a residence and not have lights shining in the windows at all hours.
I think 5 to 10 is reasonable. Make it 5, no.
Yeah, I think 5 would work.
In the commercial industrial district, comma after district, an S and a comma after that. Signs may be illuminated at any time in all other districts. After districts, you need signs.
Yeah, maybe illuminated twice.
Yeah, he sees that.
Get that for us.
Local time.
Huh?
Local time.
Eastern.
Eastern Standard.
No, you don't want Eastern Standard. What happens in the summer when we go to daylight?
That's why I said local time.
Yeah, right.
I think that'll be figured. Don't think we need to say local time, do we?
Somebody's gonna say, oh yeah, we're doing it Pacific Standard
Yeah, yeah.
Time this week.
Commercial and industrial ought to be capitalized. Getting really picky, huh?
Considering that comment you said in the email about me nitpicking everything?
That's your job.
Oh.
Oh, Tina, before I forget, Neil's unrecused himself, so he's a voting member, and John can no longer vote. Take that.
Let me take my laptop and go home.
Everybody understand that one?
The
Okay.
potential problem I see with that though is if you have residences that are that border the commercial zone, they're gonna complain. Or the potential's there for them to complain, because they're in a residential zone and you have a commercial and you have a sign in a commercial zone that's lit 24/7.
Yeah, but there's nothing you can do about that.
Right.
It's zone to zone.
Yeah,
That's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah. There's no buffer zone or anything like that.
yeah.
Well, there is if we go for somebody goes for a new site plan in the commercial, there is a buffer zone abutting a residential use.
That's right. But not light.
Yeah. Yes,
You can buffer light?
yeah, sure. Arborvitae, cedars, pines.
It's a requirement of site plan that we show on the plans, so we could.
Yeah, yeah.
You can have the shield so it doesn't go across the property line.
No fence.
What if it's internally illuminated?
It's allowed in the district, and
It's allowed in the commercial district.
Okay.
So, get hold of the
Can
fence.
I just ask a question, Craig, on this?
Certainly.
It brings up a good question about people, because I think we had somebody in the select board, this whole thing up, and he was in, what was he saying? We're allowing internally lit signs now. Do you, and I'm in favor of that. I mean, that's one of the reasons I submitted the petition when I did. The only thing I don't see you don't limit the amount of wattage, and I'm not sure quite how you would word that, of the internally lit sign. My point, I always reference the TD Bank sign in town. I think that's the most perfect sign we have in town, is the TD Bank sign. It's not offensive, it does its job, and there's no doubt about it. But I would be willing to bet, and I talked to, who did I talk? I think I talked to the gas station up there. I think they're like 15 watt fluorescent light bulbs inside that sign. I think he has 4 of them, something along that line. But I was just wondering if when you say internally lit, and I know there was a big, I think your hesitation on the board up there was the fact that you didn't want internally lit signs that were garish, in other words, very bright. But yet, when you allowed internally lit signs, you didn't put any restriction on the amount of wattage that could be inside the sign. So I guess if I wanted to be a real pain, I guess I could go out and buy a 1,000-watt internally lit sign, you know. It wouldn't be necessarily rotating or anything, but it'd be very bright. As a possible cutoff point for somebody complaining, it might live on the boundary of a commercial and residential zone. I didn't know if you want to somehow somehow limit, and I'm not sure at this late stage in the game what that would be, but it might be something to consider. Talking to somebody like at TD Bank North and see what the wattage of their sign is.
See, the problem with, you can't go just based on wattage, because wattage is how much power it draws.
Right.
LEDs draw far less power
Correct.
and put out far much more light, so you'd have to use lumens or,
Lumens,
You could
Yeah.
use lumens,
X
yeah.
amount of distance from the sign.
yeah,
Mhm.
but how is that gonna be enforced?
Because you get a dark sign, it's gonna take more lumens to light it than a light sign, but, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, unless there was a complaint, it wouldn't be enforced. I mean, that would be the only point, well, this thing is bright, if you had something in there. Maybe that might be a better plan for another year at this point. Because I don't think anybody here.
I agree that it'd be nice if we could do something like that, but I don't think that's something we can hash out
Physically
in an
possible.
hour.
No,
No, you don't
I
know
don't
enough
either.
about it.
Yeah,
but I don't wanna stop this from happening, that's working on my thing, but I was just.
I was gonna say, John, on the subcommittee, John was on the committee, I was on the, Tina, a couple other people that aren't here, but anyway. We did briefly bring that up, and we kind of decided the same thing then as we just did now. We didn't know enough to do that at the time. I agree, we probably should have some kind of limitation on this, on the lumens or whatever you wanna call it. I don't know what you call it, like use it wattage? I don't know.
Lumens is.
Yeah, lumens would be right, yeah.
The problem with doing nothing now is that
We
The potential
your
for
word,
grandfathers.
garish signs would be grandfathered.
Yes.
And so, this may not be the best way to do it. Can we put in some kind of general language,
About not being offensive or something.
you know, to a reasonable person or something like that? So that at least, if the neighbor saw that the sign was just unbelievably bright, he'd have some basis to go to Chip and say, hey, this is unreasonable. Have them cut down the wattage or the lumens.
But if it's too general, and this is something you've brought up in the past, is it something that can be enforced? If God forbid it ever went to a court of law, is it something that can be enforced and would win?
Well, let me ask, if I were to put up a sign in town, do I have to come before this board before I can put that sign up?
No,
Not under
We-
the ordinances we're
the way
proposing
way it's
to amend.
proposed, we deleted that.
Okay,
So you would go to Chip.
And Chip will give you a permit.
and does Chip have any, power then to say, hey, maybe your sign's gonna be a little too bright, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Chip is
think
the
he had,
enforcement officer, and if there were a standard in the sign, Chip would be obligated to enforce that.
Okay.
So if, for example, we said
if we say something.
maximum 1,000 lumens,
Mhm.
and you were proposing a sign that said 1,500 lumens, Chip could not give you the permit. But the problem for Chip, of course, is general language,
Mhm.
and
1,000 lumens at how many feet? You know, he has to come out in the middle of the night. He has to test it in what kind of weather. There's too many variables with that.
there are, but if you put in the general language, it at least gives the complaining neighbor an opportunity to go to the offending sign owner and say, look, this is unreasonable. Would you mind putting in different wattage? I don't want to have to go to a complaint process. And I grant you, John, that this creates problems for Chip and enforcement
Yep.
problems. But at least it establishes some sort of recognition on the board's part that there is a garish sign problem.
Well, I would also think by having that in there, to some degree, having some kind of, just a statement saying, you know, we're not looking for, that the person erecting the sign might see that and say, oh, okay, maybe I ought to step it back a little bit, you know, just so I don't have these problems coming forward, you know. Maybe if somebody didn't see any restrictions at all, they might go for that sign that's down on Amherst Street.
We don't currently have any restrictions on lighting levels for externally lit signs.
No, but
It just says
it has to be,
light
it
the
has to be,
sign
it has to be from above.
But I mean,
And shielded.
it can be a 1,000-watt halogen 5 feet from the sign.
Yep, as long as the light's not see, as long as you don't see the source from the road.
Yep.
Or the residence, I think is what it says.
But it also says it can only light up the sign.
Yeah.
So if it lights up the surrounding area, you can say, look, that's too bright.
Yep. And realistically, I mean,
Right?
I don't have I was just trying to, John has a good question, and I was just thinking, I don't wanna hold this up.
I think one thing we ought to do in internally lit signs, because you're coming here, it's, there's nothing worse than internally lit sign with the bulbs on and one of the faces missing because it broke or something.
Yep.
So I think maybe we ought to have something in here saying the sign must be fully intact to be lit.
So you could do that by putting in after the words in 3441, internally lit signs, and then insert, that are fully intact are allowed in the commercial and
I think
industrial.
good repair would probably be a better.
In good working order, I guess, is
And then under 34.6.
I was gonna say, didn't we already say something about, yeah, there it is.
I thought we did.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
permanent signs.
Right, 34.6 does
So does that mean,
That would cover that, I would think.
Yeah,
so if half your sign got blown off in the wind,
That would fall under the maintenance.
you couldn't, under 34.6, you wouldn't be able to turn it on until you put back the piece that had fallen down? Is that
Well,
what?
it just needs to be repaired regardless whether it's turned on or off.
But I think we ought to specify that if the face is missing, you can't turn it on.
If it's internally lit, yeah.
Yeah.
No exposed bulbs may be seen if internally lit. If internally lit, light source must not be visible.
Well, then the sign would have to be dark.
No, the light source, the actual light bulb or the LEDs cannot be visible. If it's internally lit.
I think that seems,
Okay,
I think it certainly confused me.
okay.
I think if we have a internally lit sign of the face missing and somebody complains to Chip, he can say, oh, don't turn your light on till you fix it.
I think,
I think
yeah,
most people would say, okay,
I feel the same way.
with 34.6 covers it, I think.
I believe so.
I think it does.
So are we good with 34.42 as it reads now?
I am, yes.
Yes.
34.43, we aren't proposing any changes.
The next change is 34.8, I think,
34.8,
where the only
One.
thing we changed was
Freestanding signs?
the title, yes.
yes. I don't remember what the title used to be anymore.
34.8 used to be, proportions.
Yes. We didn't understand what that
It's up
meant.
on the display right here.
On 34.81, the only thing we did was to move it to this location.
Let's look at 34.8 just for a second. There's
Okay.
a grammatical error, nothing else there. First sentence, where signs attached to or, should be, the word is part of, I believe. No, yeah, I guess our part works. Let's do or part. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. I guess it's okay, I guess.
34.81, we had a small grammatical thing, adding an S in the end indicates.
Right.
That was the easy part.
What did we do on 34.81?
We added an S after the word indicates,
Where am I at?
second line.
Okay, gotcha. Right there, okay.
Yes, right there. 34.9. This was in relation to signs had to be on the property where the business was located. And allowing directional signs. So we added, you need to provided the written landowner approval is obtained, the site cannot be lit, the site has no more than 2 surfaces, each surface no more than 3 square feet. And the sign is not more than 8 feet from ground level or the center line of the adjacent road.
The top of the sign, the bottom of the sign, the middle of the sign?
It says the sign is
It
not
says
higher.
the sign.
It'll be the highest point on the sign. But throughout this document, there seems to be a preference for not saying ground level.
Yes, that's what I was gonna bring
But
up.
just saying center
Center line
line
of
of the adjacent road. I
Yes.
don't know if there's a reason why in this case that same pattern isn't followed.
Probably an oversight?
Yes, I would
So take
say that,
out-
ground level or.
Take out ground level or.
The other issue I have is whether that 8 feet couldn't be
I was just
reduced
gonna
to
mention
to 6 feet. These are location signs. And
that. 8 feet's pretty high.
it is.
And I know with the subcommittee, we were talking about snowbanks and things, but
Even
I think even with snowbanks and things, the 6 feet to the top of the sign, it's only a 3 square foot sign, so it's probably 1 by 3. So the bottom's 5 feet off the, I keep saying ground, that's not true. 5 feet above the center line of the road. If the snowbank's causing it problems, I would hope the business owner has enough sense to go out and shovel a little bit of snow away from the sign.
If he relies on a sign that much, he would.
Yes, that's what I would think, yes. I was gonna bring up the 6 feet myself. I thought 8 was a little bit high at intersections and so forth.
6 feet it is. So can you go back so I can just see that again, 9-1? Thank you.
So we're okay with this 3491 as,
I'm good.
I'm good.
Certainly. Tina, you know who's talking back there? It'd be a good idea, just make sure the minutes.
Frank's right.
Yeah, that's Frank. I just want to make sure.
I heard you telling Frank earlier.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure Tina gets the minutes right.
You can probably correct me, you're eliminating from ground level, you changed the height.
Yes,
The last sentence, you changed the height,
from 8 to 6, yes.
okay. And you've eliminated ground level.
Yes.
So help me understand, if there's some disconnect between, to me, there's some disconnect between the 6 feet, and then it says center line of the adjacent road. To me, center line does not mean the height, it means the distance from the center line.
That's an elevation.
Pardon me?
The crown of the road, it's an elevation from the
Right.
crown of the road.
Right, but when usually when somebody says center line of the road, to me, it's talking about, again, from the center line to the edge of the pavement. It's not related to the crown of the road. So there might be some word to put in there, you know, the center line of the crown of the adjacent road, no?
Well, maybe the word crown and eliminate
We
the word center line.
we have elevation in other places. We-
This goes throughout.
3410.3, we have a center line elevation of the road.
Okay.
Yes.
Then let's just put elevation.
Center line elevation
Okay.
of the adjacent road.
That's, well, that, yeah, okay. Only a suggestion, but thanks.
Thank you.
so it now says 6 feet from the center line elevation of the adjacent road?
Yes.
Okay.
And just an FYI, several years ago, I won't name the individual, the reason we started going to the center line of the road, because the ditches and the ground slope further off, he was only allowed a 6-foot sign, so the top of the sign was actually below the grade of the road. So it only made sense to start relating to somewhere you're driving. That was what we came up with at that time. an FYI. Yeah, Frank?
And what prompted that, and you know, if you wanna change the way the meeting is done, I don't wanna take up a lot of your time, but 34.5,
34.5.
34.5,
Location?
location. My question to you, when it says setback, and I think of myself specifically, rural agricultural is 25 feet. 25 feet towards,
That's from the
Is
side,
this
from the side property line.
okay, and is the word setback, does that not apply again from the center line of the
No.
road to the?
No setback
So
to the front.
So is there,
It has to be on your property.
okay,
That's it.
and not to obstruct traffic?
Yep.
Okay.
Thirty-four nine two. I think basically we tried to reword that whole thing, didn't we? Is what we did.
Yeah, we took out the whole section.
We took it out
divided
and,
that,
and then put it back in
and we
again.
took out so-called, so that should be deleted.
Right.
And then we have a definition, and we took out the last part of the definition that had to do with a lower pitch.
Lower
roof.
pitch. Right.
So what John has on the screen is what we had agreed to.
Comments? Questions? Moving on? Oh, not moving on?
No, 3495, is that where we are?
3493, no changes. 94, no changes. 95, yes.
Okay.
This is where I got a problem, Frank.
Yeah,
The first sentence in that sign just goes totally 180 degrees from what we just,
Which-
back in 34.
Which one, John?
3495.
All internally lit electronic signs, including but not limited to animated changing message or electronic moving and stationary signs containing reflective and or phosphorus or similar signs. The first part, all internally lit electronic signs, I understand this means they're prohibited.
Why
It
don't we-
doesn't say in any zone, it just says they're prohibited.
We added in the commercial district in 3410.2.1 and the industrial district 3410.3.4, I believe.
Why would you have that?
Yeah, I was actually thinking the same thing, because we're,
Can we
if
just remove the words all or just remove the words internally lit and?
somebody that didn't spend hours and hours and hours looking at Article 34 would read this and get that far and say, okay, I can't have an internally lit sign.
The problem is that if you remove this, I think you're allowing internally lit signs in some cases that we don't understand. So if this is a problem, then let's put back the same language we took out before.
That's what I was going to suggest, putting that back in again.
Okay.
34.95.
Except as provided in sections blah, blah, blah.
So here's the original 3495.
No, but just keep the first three lines, which is what we agreed to, okay? And before the word all, except as provided in sections, which ones are they, Craig?
Why not put back what we had in bold and crossed out, where we had at the very end, provided that internally lit and stationary letter signs are allowed in the commercial and industrial districts only, subject to limitations in Article 3410.3.2 and 3410.4.2, or whatever they are. Why not put that right back in again? We had it. We didn't have it there. We put it.
Okay.
I know why we took it out.
I agree with you that that does the job and solves John's problem. I guess I'm being an English pedant here. It's not a full sentence. It's just provided that, and it's not, it's sort of hanging
Okay.
out there.
Take provided that out and say
So-
internally lit and stationary letter signs are allowed in the commercial industrial district,
Why don't we,
subject to limitations and articles, whatever.
how about this, instead of provided that, substitute except as provided in the commercial and industrial district, subject to the limitations in Article 3.2 and 4.2, and then go on with all. In other words, put it at the beginning of the sentence.
Oh,
Yeah, I
Okay.
was thinking that's where it should be.
So, except,
Can you actually just hand that to me? Easier to read it and type it.
I don't have it written here.
Okay, good.
he'd love to, but
Okay, except,
Except,
Yes.
as provided in Articles 3410.3.2 and 3410.4.2. So that tells everybody there's an exception,
okay,
and then they go to those articles, and one deals with commercial and one deals with the industrial.
so except as provided by articles
Articles 3410.3.2,
and 3410.4.2,
correct,
comma, all internally lit?
yes,
Okay,
and then strike make it a small a.
yep.
I don't see in 3.2 and 4.2 that you allow internally lit
Do
signs.
what?
yeah, that was one of my points. Actually, we have a little, that was one of the,
No, but in the,
You're doing 34.4.1, maybe
Right.
maybe you ought to reference that. Except in industrial and commercial zones, 34.4.1.
I think John's right, at 34.4.1.
I think we just ought to say 34.10.3 and 34.10.4. Forget all the subs after that. It doesn't matter what you're talking about, in the commercial district and the industrial district, 34.10.3 and 34.10.4. And John's right, there is an issue when you get back to those. There is. There's a typo / problem when we get to the commercial industrial.
Given that you're gonna put internally lit signs in there, you said?
Yes, we are.
I thought they already are there, no?
Yeah, not when you read it again.
Okay.
We all thought they were there, but I read it tonight and I'm like, wait a minute. Matter of fact, I wrote down, no, see me on this piece.
Okay, that's good. Now, what's the problem with 3410?
Let's just keep going this way before we bounce back and forth and everybody gets confused.
So, we're good with 34.95 now, is that correct?
Maybe. Article should be capitalized. I don't know if we should or not, I just said that. Looks better.
Okay.
I think I'm okay with it. $34.96. We're on to that one now. We didn't make any changes. $34.97. I still don't like it. I got shot.
Would you like to voice your opinion again?
Yes, I got shot down to subcommittee. I got shot down here. I'm going to say it one more time. I totally dislike signs like Fox Hollow Estates and whatever, Brookshire. Those are the only two I can think of right offhand. My reasoning is you drive through some towns and that's all you see. Nobody lives in Weare anymore. They live in Brookshire. They live in Fox Hollow. They're too good to live in Weare. Oh boy, I probably just pissed some people off. But anyway. And I know the argument was, part of it was EMTs, 911 services saying they got a call from Brookshire, everybody knows where it is. But if the sign Brookshire wasn't there, they'd say Eleanor Way, and you'd still know just as much you know today. The same with Fox Hollow. If the sign wasn't there, the road sign still says Fox Hollow on it. I don't think you're really hurting the EMT/fire department response time. Also, it can't be lit, so it's not helping them in the dark. Also, there's no 911 naming system to where the subdivision has to be not, what's the word I want? Dissimilar or whatever. You could have a fox hollow, you could have a box hollow, you could have whatever. And all of a sudden, people don't know where they're going.
So.
In my opinion, I just don't like them. And I don't see a good reason to have them.
So
Nobody's convinced me yet.
So you want to keep it the way it is?
I want to put a period after project, cross out unless approved by the planning board, doesn't matter how high it is or anything else,
But
period. They
that's
aren't
the current-
allowed.
That's
Yes,
the
I
current.
want to leave it the way it is.
Okay.
I've said my piece the third time. Maybe I'll get somewhere the third time.
I agree.
I'm no
with-
longer voting
I'm
member,
not in
so.
favor of that. Not in favor of that at all.
I agree with Craig.
Can you convince me?
No,
Okay.
I'm not in favor. I think it should be where it has to come to the planning board anyways. If it was something, unless approved by the planning board, right in that bold, unless it's something that's absolutely hideous, I don't see why we're being that restrictive. I guess. Not allowed.
So they couldn't have a Collins Landing sign?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would have to be taken down.
No, it's
No,
pre-existing.
Grandfathered,
Right,
but theoretically it would never been put up.
correct.
So-
So it would have been Collins Way.
Right.
On a road.
You'd have had a road sign.
Yeah.
That's it.
And it's a private road, it's not a
Right.
town road.
Right.
I mean, I'd like to give the contractor option as well.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're putting that much investment into that area,
The planning board has some discretion over what to allow and what not to
Correct.
allow.
if that line wasn't in there, I wouldn't be in favor of it. But where that's in there, it gives the board some discretion.
And I just go back to my same reason for liking it is 3 o'clock in the morning when you're trying to find a place in the middle of the night.
And the sign's dark.
That's what headlights are for.
You can't be in the right of way.
Doesn't matter, headlights still gonna shine off to the side.
25 feet off the road?
My headlights go off to the side.
Mm.
Did your car pass inspection?
Yes, it did.
So you're the guy I'm always flashing the high beams at when you're driving towards me.
What's the option to this, Craig?
Not allow those signs at all.
Not
Well,
allowed
there's gotta be
signs.
some kind of a sign, yeah? Road sign.
Oh, the sign.
Oh, the road sign, that's,
Yeah, road
oh, the road
sign.
road sign,
It would
yes.
say Fox Hollow Road, Eleanor Way,
Yeah,
whatever.
whatever.
Melbourne.
I don't think we, think,
From a public safety standpoint, I think it should be there. That's my feeling on it.
And it still has discretion from the planning board in there.
Well, I know what Craig's saying, because I was down in Windham yesterday.
Oh, boy.
It's like,
It's not Windham.
it would overwhelm you.
No, it's not.
But I'm looking for roads, and I got my little map, and you're trying to drive and concentrate. But anyway, you could always tell when you came to a real road, just by the name of the road, because it's this and that, and you know, nobody ever named the road this, and then finally here it is, like Pine Hill, or, no, that's probably another example. But they are kind of exasperating, I guess, but
Some of them can be very pretentious, yes.
Well, it's not that, it's just, there's a lot of them.
Yes.
I mean, literally in some places, you drive some towns 600-700 feet, and there's another one.
say every 200 feet.
I was trying, I've done some work in Windham, I know. Bedford's not any better.
We have the option as a planning board to
Deny it.
deny it,
We do?
unless approved by the planning board. End of that first sentence, 3497.
No, I don't think that's what it means.
You're only approving if it goes over 8.
Right.
No.
no, we're approving it based on the first sentence, there's a comma and then the period after it. So it's part of the first sentence, not the second sentence.
It's not clear what the standards are
Yeah, there's no standard,
for
really.
us to approve or disapprove.
I would,
Even if we want to approve, the next sentence poses some absolute limits which we cannot exceed.
Right.
So if someone came in with a sign that was 8 feet in height and was 16 square feet, wasn't lit, and was constructed of a durable, non-reflective material,
I don't think we can deny it.
Because there are no criteria for us to deny it, I think it would be hard to deny it, even if we felt it was inappropriate. And we thought a 6-foot sign would be better there. I think it would be hard to deny because there are no criteria. But you're correct, it does say unless approved by the planning board.
I think the public might have something.
Right, got some insight.
Oh, geez. I'm sorry, I'm so stuck in my
Just for
mind.
Just for your added discussion, and actually, I'm going by your note here.
You weren't supposed to see that.
Well, just for some,
I haven't brought that part up yet.
some consistency, you know, when you're talking about business signs, back in 3491, you decreased the height of 8 feet down to 6 feet,
Mm-hmm.
but you're allowing, you know, this type of sign that you're discussing now for a, you know, for a development, you're allowing an 8 feet. It seems like you'd give more preference to a business than you would to where I live. And so you could discuss the 8 feet, and that wouldn't have, that could actually just be, you know, from ground level, not from the crust of the road.
I was actually thinking two things. That 6 feet is my handwriting, by the way, in case everybody's wondering. And then I wrote down height, 6 feet, parentheses, still don't like. Also, 16 square feet, when the rural agricultural and residential district, we only have 6 square foot sign. I think that's 6 feet high and 16 square feet seems a lot to me.
What would happen if we changed that so that it was the equivalent of the location signs that we're allowing?
I don't think you're getting a sign like that durable enough to stand the test of time. What we're really looking for is signs that are real close to the road, made out of granite or something like that. Something that is appealing and will stay there.
I haven't,
So we don't want a sign on a post per se, because a post isn't gonna be that durable.
So, well, then if that's what you
Well,
think we're really doing, why don't you propose a change so that that's in the statute?
I think 2 metal posts that look like a wrought iron thing would be fairly durable.
why don't we cut the height in half down to 4 feet? Even then, that may be a little high, but 4 feet, that way at least it's still visible with average snow cover, hopefully. Would you be,
And the 16 feet?
That's what I was gonna ask Wex. How
so
far down are you gonna go from 16?
What would happen if it were a 1 by 4 foot sign? 4 feet, up 4 feet high, would that work?
what if
I
it's
was
a
gonna-
rock?
I was gonna say 2,
That's
but
fine,
Yeah, you want
but
one.
it's gotta be
So
1 foot high,
So the letters is what you'd be measuring in
Yeah.
that case, okay.
right. Not the physical.
it's
Rock
pretty,
How
itself.
about 6 square feet? This way, 1 foot tall, 6 feet long.
4
Enough,
feet high,
well, not to exceed the height of
No.
4 feet, yep.
right? And are you, Bruce, granite?
Well,
That would be the preferred sign material for that type of sign, yes.
I would agree.
you're
Then-
agreeing to granite, or you're agreeing to
To
4?
granite.
Oh,
To
okay.
granite.
So
We
6
can add
square feet,
we can add
4
a
feet
comp,
high,
sort of-
out of granite. Or
other
rock.
durable material.
No.
6 square.
we're
I don't
gonna-
know if I'd
we-
specify granite though, I mean, you could do some amazing stuff with just concrete.
Oh, you're right, yeah,
Yeah.
concrete looking things, yeah.
We could actually put a comma after and say preferably granite.
Can I just say something, Greg?
Sure, John.
I hear your concern. I really, in driving around town, I don't see that many plants or developments that we're even worried about.
Right.
I really don't understand
There's
why
only
we're...
a couple in town that have signs at all.
Right.
Yeah, there's maybe 4 or 5, maybe? I don't know. Maybe I can think of 3 or 4, but I don't see the problem. And I see it, I think, one member of the board here, I think it is an advantage for a couple of reasons. For safety reasons, for one. I mean, if it's a sign that it establishes where the development is, also thinking of deliveries. If somebody has a delivery coming to their home, now, I'm sure UPS and FedEx, they probably come out here enough, they know where all these roads are, but if somebody's getting a delivery from Sears or something, they might only come out here occasionally. You know, the sign that says, hey, Pinewood Estates, or whatever the hell the name of the thing is we're concerned with here, I mean, that would certainly help them out in finding the location. You know, a little street sign, and we know how valuable those can become to some kid's bedroom wall and maybe not being replaced. You know, they're not gonna take out a big, 16 square foot sign, I think we're fighting over something that's not gonna happen. I mean, you people have the control over how many plats you have built in the town. And
No, we don't. No, we do not.
Well, you do to a degree.
The economy-
They have to come through you.
the
I mean,
eco-
if it becomes an issue in the future where we have one every, like you were saying, every quarter of a mile is another plat, and then you got these signs every quarter of a mile, I think you got a problem maybe, but I don't see that. And I don't see it
Once they're there, we can't get rid of them, though.
Huh?
Once they're there, we can't get rid of them.
I
I mean,
understand, that, but I mean, you can see the trend. I mean, if there's a trend, you can certainly readdress this in the future, saying, well, maybe we ought to, consider this as part of being a problem.
In my...
I've been here 38 years, and I haven't seen that big development, happening to the point where we've got to worry about that, but maybe we do, I don't know.
But I still think with that, unless approved by the planning board, gives this board the out on that.
It really does, where the wording is.
Yeah.
It says, I mean, the unless approved by the planning board means, are we gonna allow the sign at all?
That's why I interpret that.
Right, it's prohibited until you agree to it.
Right.
Correct.
That's what this whole 34.9 is, it's prohibited.
How about this?
Okay, how about we just leave it like we have it, say 4 feet high and 6 square feet?
That's fine.
Unless approved by the
Period.
planning board, such sign shall not exceed 4 feet in height and not exceed
6.
6 square feet. In addition, they cannot be lit and must be constructed of durable, non-reflective material, preferably granite.
I think we can put preferably granite in there, no problem.
Or stone.
Preferably granite would give the board
But
the
again-
option, including concrete.
Yeah, because polished concrete's pretty nice now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
not
but
junk.
we're putting a preference there.
Okay.
Does that work, Craig?
It's better.
I don't think he's ever gonna agree with it.
I like it the way it was.
Did you change that on there, John?
I'm working on, instead of preference, how about example?
No,
Granite?
No.
preferably granite.
Okay.
Preferably granite.
Yeah, preferably granite.
Shut up. All right, so the only thing I've changed in here is the height of to 4 feet, not to exceed 6 square feet, and I've added preferably granite. Was there anything I missed?
Nope.
That's it.
Are you less objection?
Yes, I'm less objective.
Go ahead. Start.
It's nice to keep the chairman happy.
It's appreciated.
So everybody's in agreement on 3497 now?
Besides that, if you let me type it up, maybe I would have typed it the way I wanted it anyway.
You can type if you like.
I'm okay. Moving on. We didn't change 3498, so we're into residential rural ag. Thirty-four 10-1-2. I don't believe we had any changes in.
We did.
We did? And those,
We deleted independently owned.
oh, yes. I'm sorry.
We changed the 8 feet to...
I'm looking at the wrong piece, wrong copy.
We kept the 6 feet, and we deleted ground level for center line of, we added center line of the road.
Yes.
And I think that should be
We need
center line
elevation.
elevation of the road.
Center line elevation
Yes,
is in there.
we need the elevation.
Okay. Did you just change that?
No.
Oh, then I missed that.
Hey, when we make these changes, are we going to put this little note, this was amended 3/8. Now how do we
Yes.
put okay.
Yeah, that would happen at town meeting date.
If it passes, those amended things are done not by us, but by whoever prepares, by
Oh.
Tina.
That happens. Okay.
I don't know where it's gonna fall into, but I have a question, and let me know when would be the proper time to bring it up. Gas stations,
With respect to which,
in general, 34 in general. Gas stations, you have the regular mobile sign or Sunoco or whatever, and then they usually have a sub-sign with the prices. I don't think we've addressed that,
That's a movable weather sign,
No,
typically, no?
but gas, yeah,
no,
but
it's because it's permanent, the movable.
the
Oh,
letters,
no, I'm
the
sorry.
letters are movable,
Correct,
Yes.
it's a movable letter sign.
but it's
and
two
banned.
signs, and it'd be two lit signs.
You're allowed a primary sign and a secondary sign.
Okay.
As long as it's in the commercial industrial. If it's in the residential, you aren't gonna get your second sign.
Yeah.
And it's only gonna be a little tiny mobile station sign.
So, we're all set on 10.1.2?
I believe we are.
No changes then, correct?
No changes to what we have as
To the
of,
copy I have,
correct.
okay.
Could you go back?
We go back to,
Just a question, John. Are you separating the word center line in all cases, or are you treating, because I thought in one case...
I didn't type that, I don't,
Okay.
I'll go back and I can make sure.
Whichever way it is, let's do it
Yeah.
consistent.
Yep,
one word.
It is one word?
It is one word.
Now, didn't we also, not long ago, we were talking about this, there was some other verbiage on the center line.
We suck the elevation after center line.
Okay.
Center line elevation.
Yes, center line elevation.
So we need to add that in all cases,
Yes.
when we change it.
So we go into 341013.
The only change there was center line, and we need to change that
Yep.
unless you already did.
Doing that
He's
as we
working on
speak.
it.
Okay.
Oh, 6 feet,
Did I type that with 2 words?
Huh?
yeah.
Did I type it with 2 words? Or was that,
Read it from my notes, you messed up. Non-disputed.
Hey, John,
Yes, sir.
do you have a dictionary that shows center line as a single word?
It's not,
It's not coming up.
highlighted
so
as a
flagging
spell
it.
check.
Yeah, it's not flagging it, word.
So then it's acceptable either way, apparently?
I believe so.
Because it wasn't,
well, center and line is definitely 2 words. We know that.
Okay, all the centers are now, all the center lines are now one word.
and they're all followed by elevation?
Find out in a second. Center line elevation, elevation.
You guys are skipping me for a minute.
We'll take a break.
Yes, all of them are followed by elevation.
Thanks.
Oh, no problem.
Where did we leave off? 3410 what?
Oh, 1.3.
T- Yeah, 1013.
Okay.
And the only change we made there was center line to eliminate ground level and put in center line elevation.
So center line elevation of the road to the top of the sign.
Correct.
Can I ask a dumb question? Those uses which are granted a special exception by the zoning board are listed in Article 17.2.1. That's a permitted uses section. 17.2.2 is also permitted uses. 17.3.1, 17.3.2, 17.3.4 are all permitted uses. What are we talking about?
Are,
Do those uses which are granted a special exception by the zoning board? You don't need a special exception to have a church in a residential district or agriculture or the same thing in a rural ag. You can have a church, you can have,
Why we,
Why is that there?
what,
Historic driveway and
I'm here.
This,
when did the church put up that sign?
341013.
Yeah.
Special exceptions are in 19, correct?
Yes. Well, 3410-1 says those uses which are granted a special exception by the zoning board of adjustment and are listed in Articles 17.2.1, 17.2.2, etc. Well, those are permitted uses we're talking about in 17.2.1. I think we have a wrong article or something there, is what I'm trying to say.
What would happen if we deleted "and are listed in" and all that stuff?
Why do we even have it, is what my point is.
It looks as though, the way I would read this is, two things are required to get those signs. A, you have a special exception, and B, whatever it is you have a special exception for is listed in one of the articles. That's the way I would read that. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, but,
The answer is no, because that's why you raised the issue.
great. It doesn't make any sense. Why would you apply for a special exception to have a church in the RA district when you're allowed to have it? Oh, never mind. Delete that whole comment.
Could you explain? Because I was sort of agreeing with you.
Well, it says permitted uses, but it says with the, I think, no, I'm right. I'm wondering if we mean 19 instead of 17. Article 17.2, residential district permitted uses. 17.2.1, churches, municipally owned, educational, etc. You don't need a special exception to do that.
Yeah, we're talking about signs, not churches.
I'm talking about the whole, why do we even have Article 34.10.1.3 in here? Because those uses don't need a special exception, so the whole paragraph doesn't make any sense.
But I think the reason for that is that these special exception uses are different from the regular uses in that district, and so they have different size signs. If you get a special exception,
No,
you can have a
because
16 square foot sign, but I don't think the others in that district have a 16 square foot sign as of right. They certainly don't, as I understand it, in the RA district, and the R district, and the V district.
I kind of understand what you're saying, but special exceptions for those uses are listed in Article 19, not Article 17.
I agree with you that the references are wrong.
Okay.
So if we were to take those out and put a period after, a comma after
Oh.
the word adjustment, or you don't even need a comma, just delete
And
are, et cetera, and stop the deletion after 17.3.4, which says, in effect, anybody granted a special exception, Article 19,
get a bigger sign.
gets a bigger sign. I would
Okay,
agree- I would
so-
agree with you that those should be deleted.
So why are we allowing people a special exception assign 16 square feet, whereas if you don't have a special exception, you're only at a 6 square foot sign?
Because essentially, we're allowing certain kinds of businesses that really don't belong in the district.
To get a
a
bigger
s-
sign?
To get a special exception, and if they're that important and that significant to get the special exception, I think the argument is they should have a larger sign to let folks know what they're doing. Because they're different from being allowed of right in the district. It's not a permitted use.
Then maybe uses listed in 17.2.1 ought to be permitted with larger sign too. I really, the rest of them are pretty much.
I'd want to think about this a lot more before we decided to delete it or do anything other than just eliminate what appears to be erroneous references.
This is the last chance we get.
Right, but the problem is if you make a mistake here.
I know.
So if I get a special exception in the residential district to allow a racetrack, I'm allowed a 16 square foot sign rather than a 6. Is that what you're
Absolutely.
saying?
That's it.
Same with a hotel.
How do
Same
you
with a
get
hotel.
Special exceptions for a racetrack, they're not listed as special. exceptions.
Article 19. The following uses are permitted by special exception in residential, rural ag, and village zoning district. You're allowed a racetrack, according to Article 19.1.3. I can put a hotel in there. I can put a sawmill in there, and then I get a bigger. Then I get a bigger sign.
Except if, I may be missing something, but it says motorsport and racetrack facilities are
Okay.
not permitted in.
Yeah, I was. You're right. I was reading quickly, but either way, you're allowed a hotel. I get a funeral home. I can get a bigger sign.
So I'm saying church and nursing home ought to be able to have that same bigger sign.
I would think a church would be the same as a funeral. Well,
Yeah.
obviously a church and a funeral home are completely different. I didn't mean that the way it was coming out, but
No,
yeah, I just don't see why you get a special exception. You get a bigger sign. That's all. It just doesn't make any sense. And I never thought of it until just now. Sorry. Come on, somebody from the public have a brilliant idea for me. Why'd we do this?
So what are we changing? The numbers are being changed. 17 is erroneous.
I think,
They're all, they're 19.
I think Craig has come across something which we just never noticed before, that there's at the very least some confusion here, which would be eliminated if we deleted the references to Article 17.
I think we definitely got to get rid of and
That's right.
are listed in articles such, and 17.3.4. Minimum, we got to do that.
But before we do more than that, I think we need to do a little bit more homework, and that may be something for next year.
So I get a special exception to have a 510 square foot farm stand. I can put up a 16 square foot sign rather than a 6 square foot sign if I go 500 square foot farm stand.
Where's your farm stand in
1917. Food, produce, or vegetable stands not to exceed 500 square feet. Oh, okay, so I got to be under that to get special exception. I put up a farm stand in the rural ag, I can have a 16 square foot sign. That doesn't make any sense. I'm beating a dead horse, and I realize that.
Let's just delete these references.
Okay,
Well, I can see why those numbers are, I think, if they match with the,
but those are permitted uses. You don't need a special exception for 17.2.1 for a church. You don't need a,
you could
Special
just put
exception.
special exception for Article 19 or something, right? For the one
Well,
you wanna put.
that's the only article granted a special exception by the ZBA. The only thing they can do is Article 19. You could put that in there if you wanted to. It would be redundant. So are we crossing that out?
I think we should take, yes, I think we should cross that out at least.
From the and after Board of Adjustment?
Yes.
Yes. Until May, leaving the May. Need to make note to self for next year.
You did this all day before?
3, 34, 10, 1.
It's like speaking a foreign language like a native. I just
Okay. We're under the village district, right?
All right, so it's agreed that 34.10.1.3 is gonna read this.
Yes.
I guess, yes. Okay. Village district. From the current regulation to the new regulation, 341022. We went from 12 square feet up to 20 square feet. And we left it 6 feet high, but instead of ground level, we say from center line of the road. And then we add if it's attached to a building, the top of the sign can be no higher than 75% of the height of the building.
Question on that?
Yes.
If the building is 16 feet to the eaves, 25 feet to the peak, and there's a 6-foot chimney extending beyond the peak, what is the height of the building?
25 feet.
Why do you exclude the chimney?
It's not a wall. Oops,
The
building.
wall has been deleted.
The building codes don't include chimney when they figure height, building height.
Okay, imagine a building which is 25 feet high, it's a gable roof building, 25 feet high, 16 feet to the eaves. The business proposes to put the sign on the eave wall, okay, 16 feet high. They could put the sign anywhere on that wall because 75% of 25 feet, the height of the building, is greater than 16 feet.
Plus is the building wall.
No, we took wall out.
Deleted the word wall. Am I correct?
Yes. We did take the word wall out.
And the effect of that, if that is not taken out, then the sign could be no more than 12 feet high on the 16-foot wall, 16-foot to the eaves wall, and would be, I think it's 18, it would be 18 3/4 feet on the 25-foot wall. If we take this away, it's still 18.75 feet on the 25-foot high wall, the peak wall, but could be any height on the 16-foot high wall. I'm not arguing against this, I'm just trying to understand what this says. By taking away the word wall, we're allowing a sign on a smaller wall in a gable building to be any place on that wall, essentially.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand that.
It can't extend beyond the limits of the wall. The sign can't be flapping out in the breeze.
It can be out in the breeze, but it can't be higher than I don't think, well, can it be higher than the eave line? No, because it can't be
It'd
on
be
the
on the
roof.
roof then at that point.
And it can't be
that's-
on the
That's a whole other issue.
Right.
Can it be on the roof under this? I thought we didn't allow signs on a roof.
I don't think we did.
That's what we just adopted. 3492. Prohibited, any sign erected on or above any part of the roof of the building.
That answers your question.
Okay. Okay, so it could be 16 feet on the short wall and 18 3/4 feet on the peak gable wall. Got it. Thank you.
No, it can't be,
It can.
because it can't be above any part of the roof.
But on the gable end, it wouldn't be above the roof. It's not on the roof. It's not above the roof. It's on the wall at 18.7 feet above the ground.
Depends on how you.
So you're talking about putting a sign there.
Yes.
It's above the roof. What?
That's interpretation.
Any part of the roof.
No,
Any sign
agree
erected
with you
on
that
or
if you-
above any part of the roof of the building.
but there are two meanings to the word above in this case. Literally, I think this is what we mean, literally on top of the shingles.
Okay.
That's one interpretation, and your interpretation is, yes, literally on top of the shingles, also at any point on the building that's higher than the eaves. I don't think that's what this means.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying, that's my interpretation. It's just because it could, yeah, I mean, it's on a wall, even though it's above the eagle line, it's on
Exactly.
a wall.
and it can be 3/4 of the way to the peak.
Yeah, theoretically.
So what do we decide? We like the way it is? We want, okay.
I don't have a problem with that part. But I do think that we are making a mistake by increasing the signs by 60% from 12 feet to 20 feet in the village district. I recognize that there are some existing businesses there. This is not virgin territory, as it were. But I think the master plan makes it very clear that we're trying to preserve the rural character of the town, and enlarging the signs in the village districts, not just Weare Center, but all of the village districts, is contrary to that. So I would like to see us not change that 12 square feet, but keep the other changes in 34, 10.2.2.
That was a sign committee recommendation.
That was.
Yes.
Oh, all of these are signed committee recommendations.
No, but this is what we had discussed before. This is the,
I did mention, I think at the last subcommittee meeting, going to 16 square feet. And I think I was outvoted something like 4-1 or 3-2 or something like that. Because right now we're allowing a 3x4 sign, going up to 4x5 doesn't sound a lot bigger, but when you add in the additional signs that we're allowing in the next paragraph,
That's another,
that's where the 20 feet seems big to me when you get to the rest of, to the next paragraph.
well, under the current rules, a single business on a lot in the village district gets a 12-foot sign. Under the current rules, if there are more than 2 businesses on the sign, on the lot, they get a 20-square-foot sign, plus
Signs on the building.
each business can put up a 12-square-foot sign attached to the building on the lot. That's the current rule. So if you had 4 businesses on a lot, you would get in the village district, you get 20-foot sign in effect for the plaza. And then each business has a 3x4, 12-foot square sign attached to the building, wherever it is
And
in the building. That's the
the
current.
the argument I brought up to this one, I don't remember if I brought this up, but I remember this one. At this point, we're punishing the person that has one lot, or one business on their lot,
How so?
by restricting it to 12 square feet currently. If there's another business and the primary the primary gets bumped up to 20, and then 12 each additional. That's the way I understand the way it currently reads.
I agree with you. I think that's the way it reads.
And I think that's unfair for the single business owner in the village district. If you're gonna have 20 for more than one business, for a primary business on a lot, you'd have 20 for a single business on a lot.
Then
Also, the other point was that not all buildings that have the business are visible from the road. So just because I have whatever business is, a sign on my building, you may not be able to see it from the road, and technically, why have any advertising when I can't see it from the road?
right, so the signs, the building
Useless.
type signs wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's useless. That was why we might as well talk about both these 341022 and 341023 together, because you almost have to lump them together. That was a lot of the subcommittee's thoughts there also, was that you get buildings that are set back from the road or behind another building or an L-shaped building or something, and all of a sudden you can't see it's not visible from the road. So you need a sign out by the road saying whatever the business is.
Okay, what?
I personally do not have a problem with going with 16 and 16 though, instead of 12 and 20.
What, let me offer a different perspective. What happens if we say, we eliminate the two paragraphs in effect, combine them into one? So we're treating everybody the same, because John's got a point. If you have one business, you get 12 square feet. What is it now? 12.
12.
And for each additional business, not on a sign attached to the wall, but on the plaza sign, on the primary sign, an additional 4 feet. So if you had one business on the lot, you'd get 12 feet. If you had 3 businesses on the lot, you'd get 12 plus 4 plus 4.
If you have a freestanding sign, how are you gonna do that and still keep within the 6 feet elevation?
No, I agree. We'd have to look at that and change that.
Well, that was a big sticking point for you last
It
time we
certainly
discussed this, was the height of the signs too.
It certainly is.
So,
And I'm thinking of the one plaza in town, which has
Yep.
a very tall sign, which would be pretty much along the lines of what I'm suggesting. And maybe it's not a good idea. Maybe you're right, John.
I still think, my personal feeling is I think that if you're gonna do 20 for multiple businesses, do 20 for one. No, I don't think it's right to penalize a business that is in the village district that only has one business on that lot.
But John, as this now reads, explain to me how this works under 3410.3. You get 20 square feet plus an additional 8 square feet per business. So let's assume there are 3 additional businesses for a total of 4. That would be 24 plus 20 is 44, right? 3 businesses at 8
Yes.
is 24,
Yep.
plus 20 is 44. That's under the maximum. And how is that sign going to work with the 8-foot height limitation?
Really wide.
One sign here, stacked.
No,
The two
one
po-
sign, right?
the 2 posts are 8 feet apart.
It's not 2 signs, it's one sign.
One sign on 2 posts. 8 feet apart. 8-foot wide sign.
So it would be
You think of signs
fine.
hanging, just argument's sake, 2 by 4 signs hanging from a chain with another sign below it, and then off to the other side, another set of signs. Just argument's sake.
Okay, but let's assume, just so I can visualize it, it's one sign.
Yep.
It's 8 feet wide by roughly 5.5 feet tall. The top of the sign is 8 feet high, according to this, right?
Yes.
So that means the bottom of the sign is 2.5 feet above the ground, is that right?
No, we're not measuring from the ground, we're measuring center line elevation of the road.
Sorry, from the center line of the road. I'm going to assume, just to visualize it,
It's
that
flat.
it's all
Sure.
flat.
Okay.
Okay, so it's 2.5 feet above the ground. I have that correct?
Yep.
I'm not good at math, but sure.
No, I mean, if,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay. And is that appropriate? Is that reasonable for businesses? Have a
We-
sign that's
we-
so low to
we-
the ground?
We don't specify a width restriction.
So they could put a sign 22 feet wide by 2 feet high.
Sure. Maybe it's a really long business name.
No.
Look
You
at
gotta
my
get
last name.
You gotta get 4 names on there. For the 44 feet, it was 1.
Well, if he's one of the business owners in the 4.
Yeah, I'm gonna take 48.
Yeah, but you're smart enough, it's just gonna be J Van.
Giving an awful lot of credit.
Hey.
Craig, can I ask a question on this particular?
Certainly, sir.
Changes that are in this 3410.2 and 2.3, were those changes that were by the subcommittee basically agreed to?
Yes.
And you had, 3 business owners in that subcommittee? I mean, I'm
Yes.
just wondering, they probably had some input into this, I would think, probably as to the reason why they wanted to do that.
Yes, they did.
Okay, I just, you take that into account as well.
I remember in regards to the height, a lot of the discussion was because of the snowbanks we had last year.
Mm-hmm.
And that may have been a knee-jerk reaction because of how much snow we had,
Mm-hmm.
considering this year we haven't had
Well, we don't want to take a knee-jerk reaction in the other way.
No,
This
and
year,
I agree.
Yeah.
But,
Let's take an average.
when it comes to height, everybody was in agreement that snowbanks were a huge issue, which
Yeah.
is why the subcommittee had brought up
Well, I
increasing
don't have a
heights.
problem with the 8-foot high, I'm just wondering, we're talking about knocking these back down again, and I thought the subcommittee came up with these numbers.
Yep.
And I just, before you go and start altering them like a great deal, I mean, the subcommittee did put some thought into it.
Had the subcommittee given any thought to breaking up the sign so it's, using these numbers, so it's not 2 feet by 22 feet, or 5 feet by 8
But
feet?
dimensional restrictions, no, I don't think that was ever brought
No.
up.
Because I just wonder if
It
there-
wasn't, it was never discussed, so it wasn't,
I'm trying to visualize the existing businesses putting up these new signs and what Weare Center is going to look like as a result of that. And I'm not sure that I fully have done it in my mind, but what I have done, I'm not sure that that's going to be a very pretty sight. One of the advantages.
but realistically, Neil, you're also a little bit biased because you want to keep the village district as pristine as it is today. You don't want a lot of, you don't want it to change.
No.
You're happy with the way it is. You don't want to.
It's not my place to say whether it should change or not.
No, in your personal feeling, not aside from the board, your personal feeling. It seems like you don't like the idea of changing any of the village districts, regardless whether it's the center or anywhere else. You want to keep them in a historical.
I think that's fair to say that that's my personal view, but
Yes.
I'm not sitting on the board
No, I understand.
to advance my personal views.
No, and I completely understand that, but the problem is I feel that your personal views are playing into this a little bit.
Well, I'm sorry, my personal views are playing into the subdivision
Yeah,
signs too.
Exactly, yeah.
No doubt about it. I think
Everybody's.
we have
As of
to.
your personal
That's
views.
why we're here.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that doesn't help the advance of the discussion. So the question is, under the current rule,
Yep.
okay, what we've done is in effect to break up the signs. There's one sign, whether that's 12 feet, plus there are a whole bunch of other signs in a different location. So as you drive down, forgetting about how far off the road people
Yeah.
are, but as you drive down, it's not a huge sign that hits you.
Yep.
It's one sign that identifies the plaza and a number of other signs that identify the particular businesses in the plaza.
Mhm.
Is there some way that we can keep that concept, so it's not a huge sign, and still do what you're trying to do to advance, to give businesses a better chance to have their name in the public's eye?
Raise the height.
I believe we did that, didn't
No,
we?
we raised it a foot. It was 7, we went
Yeah,
to 8.
it was 7, we bumped
Well,
it
it was
up to
7
8.
from the ground. It's 8 from the road, center line of the road.
Raise it to 10. I mean, I can think of one plaza in the middle of town, where he has 4 businesses, or could possibly have 4 businesses. And he made a point to me about, that was one of his complaints, was it's a hard time advertising that plaza and its businesses within that plaza. And now, I see your point, we want a sign in each particular, but when you're driving by into town, your chance to see a sign is gonna be that one opportunity of that big sign standing there in front of you. You're not gonna be able to go by and look, oh, geez, that could have been it, you know? It's the same thing to me with the subway in the Southway. They don't have a chance to have a sign out on the road, a decent sign. I mean, if you're going by there at 45 miles an hour, chances are, and you didn't know there was a subway in there, you still don't know there's a subway in there until you get down to Goffstown. Oh, right, there was a subway back there, you know what I'm saying?
But the one you were talking about in the center of town, those buildings are close enough to the road so that if a sign were put on the building, not as they are now, parallel to the wall, but perpendicular to the wall, there would be pretty good visibility from the road.
Not for all the buildings.
How are you gonna do that?
I'm sorry?
Not for all the buildings.
The
for the-
buildings in the back of that.
Like, not the back,
That's all
but everything in
another
the
issue.
front.
Yeah.
Everything in the front would be pretty visible.
In the front would be visible because they're close enough to the road.
Right.
Except you can't mount it on the roof, so it's gotta be underneath the eave.
Right.
No, he's got, in that building, the peak is At least,
75% of the
Oh,
height of
that's
that.
right.
right,
It is.
so he could be way up.
John, just, you brought up the subway dilemma for months now. And in asking maybe those that should know, what I'm told is the real problem is the complex he's in has decreed the sign. In other words, it was nothing the town did, it's something that his landlord did that created the problem down there. Now, I know that hasn't had much to do with
But there
work.
are restrictions, Frank, on that particular sign, even if the landlord wanted to. He couldn't make that sign any bigger. He couldn't illuminate it
Not,
internally. I mean,
not yet.
We've addressed that a little bit here now, but.
Yeah, but he could
couldn't
get it out
make
on the
that sign
road.
any bigger.
You know what I mean? He's got three problems. It's not illuminated, it's too small, and it's too far back.
Right.
The too far back problem may be the greatest, which is,
It is.
is something created.
But my point is, if you ever go by any place, basically in a plaza-type setting where there's a subway, that sign is usually illuminated on the road, so that you know in that plaza somewhere there's a subway. And that's my point with that one, there was, not only is it not illuminated, there is no sign on that main menu sign, if you wanna call it that.
I'm sorry, can we stick with the village
Right,
district? Then we'll get to the commercial
Right,
Okay.
later, please. Otherwise, we're gonna start bouncing around and
right.
we're almost a third of the way through this thing already.
Wow.
Halfway.
Oh, we have?
Yep.
Wow, better yet. So we seem to be stuck in the 20 versus 12 in the additional signs.
I didn't bring it, but there's some studies on signs. The ones that have the biggest impact on a driver are the ones where the driver doesn't have to do this. Where just driving down the road, he sees the sign. So going 12 feet in the air, I don't think helps. Being somewhere between 6 and 8 feet in the air is
Pretty good number.
where it needs to be, so the driver isn't turning his head. Because when he turns his head, he's distracted. So I think going above 8 feet in any situation where it's a freestanding sign beside the road is
Too high.
right.
You're on duty.
I'm not. Monday night.
Oh.
I guess most of the selectmen think of that.
I was trying to address the problem where Neil has a concern with the width of the sign. So to get the square footage in the obviously, the only other.
Right.
Is to go up.
But they're gonna,
Always later times width, you know. and
But,
that's
but
what makes
it
square
wasn't
footage.
just the width, John, it's the bulk of the sign
Mhm.
and its appropriateness in the village district. It's very appropriate in the commercial district. In the village district, I think it's not appropriate, but I think we do need to do something to recognize that businesses need to direct people to the fact that they're there.
Right.
In the, you mentioned the commercial district, and I'm not gonna talk about that, but in malls, generally speaking, in the larger malls, you don't necessarily get a list of the businesses that are in the mall. It's the Mall of New Hampshire. Now, smaller malls try to give you the Mall of New Hampshire plus, and that's what Langtuts does. I don't know about whether that same concept applies to the mini malls that we're seeing in Weare Center. I don't know that the mall name is meaningful. It may just be that it's the business names that are really the key thing.
Well, during the subcommittee, we were talking about the name of the plaza/mall.
But
That was
brought up.
That was very, not very, it was primary.
the name of the mall, the
Yes.
name of the, not the names of the businesses.
Both, but the name of the mall was certainly important. And backing up, you were talking about the width of the sign. If you assume we want 8 feet high, 48 square feet, 4 feet off the ground, it'd be 12 feet wide. So it'd be
That's,
less than 22.
yes, but it's large compared to what we have now, and I don't know.
Just trying to put it in perspective, it'd be 12 by 4, 4 feet off the ground.
To me, the advantage of the present rule is that it breaks up the signs, so it's not a mass. But the problem with the present rule apparently is it doesn't provide enough attention.
Right.
So I'm not quite sure how to,
This is where
Thread
the
that needle.
subcommittee's best get.
We spent a lot of time,
Yes.
we spent a lot of time on this
Yep.
concept, not just the village district, but commercial and industrial and particularly Village, I guess. Actually, Village was more than anything else. Yes, Frank?
Your discussion and concerns of the, Neil used the word bulky, use an example of a foot sign 22 feet wide. That, isn't some of that, covered in the next article?
Which one?
1084, 1024. To help you strike a balance, the sign should be designed to extend reasonably practical, be consistent. Doesn't that give you some help in determining the size?
It might have been in the past, but at the moment, we've really removed the planning board from the sign process.
But the code enforcement
Oh, it
officer,
says code enforcement.
so Chip would have,
But more to the point, there are some established examples to maybe set a parameter.
But the argument that the applicant would use, and I think the applicant would be correct, is, look, I want a 48-foot sign, that's what I'm entitled to, and I'll do it on the same kind of background and color and lettering as all of these other signs, but I want my 48 feet sign. So I don't think this would be usable to achieve the goal that you want.
I don't think 34.10.2.4 gives a whole lot of enforcement, whatever the word I want, to the code enforcement officer. It gives guidance, but it doesn't really, it's,
I'm not sure there's any consistency
I think that
in
if-
the areas of the signs anyhow. I mean, you can go to some places that all have like carved out signs, I mean, the whole area. I mean, that to me is consistency. In this town, I don't think that necessarily is the case.
even if you see the code enforcement officer photographs the signs, the town offices, Center Woods Elementary School, Town Hall, Historical Society, and Library, well, there's quite a bit of difference between all those signs, too.
But while
They're
there's
not 22 feet wide either.
No, but,
while there's a lot of difference, there's also a lot of similarity in terms
well,
of
if you look at those signs, most of them would not be allowed in these ordinances, because they have changeable letters in the village district.
No,
3 out of the 4. The town hall, Center Woods have changeable letters on it.
but that's,
You can't do that in the village district. But the towns don't have to meet their own Google guidelines, so it doesn't matter. I don't think by saying signs should be close to this is enforceable personally. To the extent reasonably practical. We talked about that a lot in 2011, and even before the year before that, we brought this up. I don't think you're going to see any 22-foot wide signs personally.
No,
I don't
but-
think you're.
but you're certainly gonna see a 6x8 sign.
Yes. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a 4x12 sign.
There's
But I
nothing
don't
that big
think-
in the center now, right? There's no 48-foot sign, 48 square foot sign.
You can't have one that big now, right? They're restricted to.
Well,
How big's the one at the town hall?
Well, yeah.
No,
That's a separate
That's a
issue.
grandfather.
Well,
We're talking
yeah,
about
how big?
business signs.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
but I'm talking about signs, just to get an idea of what's going on. And
4x8 sheet of
I say
plywood.
there's nothing even near 48 square feet in Weare Center. I don't know if there isn't any part of town, except, well, I'm not sure down I don't look at them.
In any of the village districts.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's excessive myself, in the village district. Existing village districts, at least.
We realize it would take 4 businesses to make a sign that big.
Yeah, but
Well-
we have 2 plazas right now that, in the center, that have 4 businesses,
I understand.
or maybe even more. One has more.
like, they can have a 20 square footer and a 48 square footer.
No. They can have a 20 square footer and 8 additional square feet per business, per additional business, not to exceed 48.
So the 20, yeah, but then the 20 square footer is a separate sign, so the 48 is really 28?
No.
No?
No, it's all one
It's
sign.
one sign, and the size of the sign varies with the number of businesses you have.
Doesn't have to be one sign, does it?
Yeah, one freestanding sign in the beginning of the sentence.
Well, maybe that's the problem. An additional, I mean, 48 square feet might not be excessive if in fact it wasn't a 48 square foot sign.
You mean two 24s?
Well, 4, whatever they
Four
are.
12s.
12s?
Like you wanted that, you have signs scattered all over the place.
And then you're not
Sort
going
of
to
like the Burma-shaped signs.
be, those were mentioned several times in the planning board, in the subcommittee.
How about this?
And then if you have 2 or 3 different signs, you're definitely not going to be promoting the plaza. You're not promoting the plaza, that's just
Because
out the
people
window.
will,
Yeah,
it's
the
too much to
plaza
absorb.
idea is gone.
No, the one sign is the only way to do it.
I think so. I don't think you want 2 or more signs on a lot, especially when the lots aren't very wide in the village district.
Well, one of the things we could do is instead of talking about square feet, you could talk about a maximum sign size, if you wanted to do it that way. That doesn't solve the problem in terms of the total number of square feet, but it would ensure that you don't have a 6 by 8 or a 4 by 12 or whatever it is you decided you didn't want. But I don't know how to get each business in front of the driver in a way that doesn't really compromise the village district.
In addition to the 48 square foot, they're allowed 12 square foot. Each business. So if there's 12, there's
building.
another 48 feet.
12
Inside.
is on the building, yes.
That's a lot of signage.
But once you pull over, you gotta figure out where you're going.
Well, it says not to contain more than 2 surfaces, so I'm assuming you can use each side of it. Here it is. So you really got 24 feet of signage, sign space.
Each surface containing not more than 12 square feet to be attached to its building on the lot,
So there's another 100
either
feet, 96
parallel
feet.
or perpendicular to a vertical wall.
96 feet plus the 48 feet they're allowed. 4 of those.
I think the first 20 feet would be the first business and the plaza, right? And then
That was the subcommittee's idea, was the 20 square feet was the name of the plaza,
plaza and the first business.
and the first business, right. That's how you got from 12 to, that's how we got from 12 to 20.
I'm just talking about a plaza with 4 businesses in it. Okay? What happens if we had a sign that looked like this? 6 feet wide, 3 feet high at the top for the plaza and the prime business, and then a 1 by 6 sign for each of the businesses in the plaza, so that the total size of the sign would be 30 square feet and 6 feet wide by 5 feet high at 8 feet, so the bottom would be 3 feet above the ground.
We're limiting it to 4 businesses?
No, I'm saying that's the maximum size of the sign. This has a maximum also of 48 square feet.
Plus each business, I don't know if it was discussed when I was filling my water bottle, each business may erect 1 sign containing no more than 2 services
For another
Each
12,
su-
yes.
To
No
attach
more-
to the building.
to attach to the building, no more than 12 square feet.
I'm leaving that aside.
Okay.
Okay, let's assume that continues to exist.
So basically, Neil, you're talking from 8 square feet to 6 square feet
No, I'm
for
thinking,
each additional business.
yes, but I'm also talking about setting up a sign that, in terms of its bulk, wouldn't be as obnoxious as a 4 by 12 or whatever it is. This would give you, 1, 2, 3 is 18, and 18. This would give you 36 square feet max for 4 businesses.
So how big's your first sign, your top sign?
It's 3 by 6.
Why not go 4 by 8? Just
'Cause then it's
simple
huge.
sheet of 32 square feet, right? No,
Yeah.
48. Is it 32?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're taking it from 20 square feet to 18 square feet?
I'm taking the single sign, the first one,
And then
20 to
1 by
18.
6 square feet for every additional?
Right, but with a max of 3 additionals for a total of, what did I say?
36.
30 square feet.
36.
36 square feet, sorry, 36 square feet. That would be the maximum size of the sign, but there would also be limits on the width and height of the sign, so that you wouldn't have a bulk problem. And the advantage of that, from a visual point of view, is that there wouldn't be any signs that were extreme. All of the signs would be basically of the same variety. So as you drove through the center of town, you'd have a 36-foot sign here, a 36-foot sign there, and you'd be able to, I don't know. I'm thinking that might be a reasonable way to balance the desire to get businesses' names in front of people with the desire not to have it so in your face that it takes away from what I think many people value in the village districts. I'm just throwing these out as an
No,
idea.
I'm
I'm not. In other words, is there some virtue to uniformity of sign size in the village districts?
I think there is, but is it something that we can hash out tonight?
Well, we certainly can in terms of dimensions. We do that all the time,
But
square footage and dimensions.
the proposal, wasn't that gonna also have uniformity also? But they were saying basically 28 and 8 and 8,
But
depending on the size.
that
I know
was-
you were concerned with the bulk of that.
Yeah.
So that is uniform as well. From what you're suggesting is 16, 6, and 6. Instead.
18, 6, 6, 6.
18, 6, and 6.
Yes.
Right. So you're just reducing the size.
I'm doing 2 things. I'm reducing the sign so the bulk isn't so big, and I'm setting a maximum width and a maximum height, so that instead of having a large sign horizontally here and a tall, well, you can't have it too tall, 8
Yeah.
feet, there, that the signs are somewhat uniform. In terms of bulk, not in terms of what they say or anything like that.
Yeah, we can't do anything with that.
Well, your sign is 5 feet, 6 feet high, and we're allowed to be 7 feet off the ground, so it's
No,
only a foot off the ground.
The proposal is 8 feet. This would be 2 feet off the
Okay.
ground.
2 feet off the ground.
Right. And that can be a problem certainly for some businesses in the winter, depending upon how the snow is. I understand that. But that same problem exists even under the current, I mean, it's all a compromise. It's not.
Oh, I agree.
Nothing
And
works.
I don't wanna take away from, I don't wanna detract from the character of the village district, but just finding that happy medium, that's
I
the
agree.
tough part.
At the same time, we do have businesses in the village district that would
And
certainly.
realistically, a lot of the businesses in town are in a village district.
In your proposal, though, are you restricting it then to 4 businesses with any one plaza?
No.
No. I'm only
No.
talking about the size of
We
the
did,
sign.
we did talk about that at the subcommittee level, and basically we said, well, if you have 5 businesses, then you're gonna start shrinking signs. You know, somebody's not gonna get 8 square feet, somebody's gonna get 7, and somebody else is gonna get, and all of a sudden, you're gonna have the same 48 square feet. You're allowed 48 square feet with 4 businesses, if you have a 5th one, you're still allowed 48 square feet, you make it work.
I kind of think what Neil's suggesting, though, to create uniformity going forward from this point, I guess you can't grant, people, if they want to keep their old signs, they could.
Right.
He's basically saying for each business that they would have a 1 by 6 placket they could put up as their sign, right?
Or it could be a single sign that's 6 by 6, but if it were
Yes.
4 businesses. But yes, John, that's the concept.
The concept would be a 1 by 6 placket.
Right.
So if I added another business and I only had 2 feet from the restaurant, I'd be, what, 2 businesses in, I'm out of luck, right?
Well, you can only have a certain number of square feet under the subcommittee's proposal or under current law, or under what I'm suggesting.
And the other thought we had is
Nobody's
something that
suggesting
if you had a 1x8 sign, poof, you cut it in half, and one guy gets one half of it, and
Right.
and somebody gets the other
Well,
half.
under the proposal that you're dealing with before you do any changes to it, there doesn't seem to be any limitations. In other words, if I had a 10-business plaza, each business other than the first one would have 8 square feet.
Subject
No.
to a limit of 48
Not
square
to
feet.
exceed 48.
The total can't
Oh,
exceed
yeah,
48.
that's
Yeah.
what you told me, yeah, I didn't see that, yeah.
I mean, the village district says speed limits
30,
35 tops.
30 here, yeah.
It's 35 in Tavern Village.
I think we discussed that last time. I think the
Yeah,
max
we
was
did.
35, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So people are driving relatively slow, so the sign doesn't have to be huge to be noticed.
right. But to have a plaza name, you need, that obviously, well,
Take some room.
right, it's obviously bigger than the business names.
What about keeping the top sign for multiple business, the big sign at 20, and then 6 square feet for each additional?
Well, don't forget the 20 is 12 plus 8 for the first business.
That's
Then each
20,
business, and then each additional business gets 8 more. That's where the original 20 came from.
But what about, okay,
20 included the first business.
okay.
And I'm suggesting that we raise the single business from 12 to 18, 3
Okay.
by 6,
Mm-hmm.
and that for multiple businesses, it's the 3 by 6 plus a 1 by 6 for each additional business, up to a total of 3 additional businesses. And beyond, now, if you want to split a sign in terms of what you write on it,
But what, realistically, with 3 feet, a 1 by 3 sign be enough to be,
but remember, although I've drawn it like this,
say
You're
you split
basically-
it inside, say they have,
it's really one solid piece of wood, 6 feet
yeah,
wide
they
by
they
6
just
feet
put
high.
an
Right.
artificial divider in there.
Yes.
Is
Put
a
a
3
trim,
foot by 3 foot
put trim
section
board across it.
gonna be big enough to put a business name that you can read from the street at 35, 40 miles an hour, being realistic?
I think really, although we talked about that in subcommittee, when you get to a point where you're over 4 or 5 businesses, the plaza name is probably more important than the business name.
Right. People are
Yeah.
gonna pick up all the businesses.
Yeah, I'm not looking for Joe's Bakery, I'm looking for X Plaza.
Which was the reason why it was brought up to have a plaza name, yep.
Right.
But I have to say that I find the Langtot sign, which is a very large sign, has the plaza name, but then lists most of the businesses.
No,
It used to.
yeah, that's the problem.
They cut the sign in half.
Well, I found that very helpful, because
Oh,
then
I
I knew
agree.
who was in
Right.
there.
That's kind of
We-
where we're going.
We all have been talking about that
The trouble
sign.
with that one is it's too far off the road.
Yeah,
It-
they
You're going by
moved-
there, you
but-
have to really turn your head to see that.
But
sign.
that's
But
their
isn't there a
doing.
problem
That's
with
not
it?
our doing, though.
Isn't there a problem?
That's not our doing. We
That's-
can't control
That's
that.
something they did on their own.
Is that the state right-of-way problem, or is that the plaza owner's
The
problem?
plaza owner's problem.
Yeah, it was a lot closer to the road,
Yeah, I remember
Oh,
it,
yeah.
like out near the
Yeah.
island,
right?
out towards the street.
Because the right of way can't be passed where that island is, yeah.
My only concern is I'm not so concerned about the 18, the 3 by 6. That seems reasonable. My concern is the additionals below it. If they have more than, I believe you have 3 drawn on your.
But you
picture.
could put in 4 if you wanted to have the letters 9 inches high, as opposed to 12 inches high.
Well, he has 3 drawn below, but don't forget, that's 4 businesses with 3 drawn below.
Yep. And if they have 5 businesses, what do you do?
You make the letters smaller,
At
or you
that-
rely on the plaza
At that point,
sign.
you're relying on the plaza sign more than the business name, I think.
Or you cut the signs down, yeah, like Neil said, you cut them down from
But
1
is
foot
it, at
to
that point, is it
6 inches.
too small for a business name to be recognized from a
John,
reasonable speed?
at some
Yeah, that's why
point,
you
Don't-
rely on the plaza name.
Yeah.
at
okay.
some point, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is,
No question about it. But if we said, okay, get another sign, you would say, but what about the next business?
No, my concern, and having 4 signs like that, I think is a great idea. Again, my concern is height, and are we agreed it's gonna be 8, or are we going back down to 7? Regardless.
Yeah.
My concern is the business name on the sign gonna be visible enough? That's my concern. If the answer is yes, then great, we can move on.
The answer is that for 4 businesses, absolutely yes.
Okay.
Craig,
For
at your
5
subcommittee
businesses,
meetings, the owner
probably
of the
yes.
plaza
6
or
businesses,
the
I'm
other
starting to
town,
doubt.
Yeah.
He was on the subcommittee with you.
Yes.
When I was talking to him when I did my petition, his concern was that his sign was not adequate.
Mhm.
What Neil's suggesting, do you think that would be adequate for his concerns? That's where I don't know. I don't know if a 1x6 sign is adequate. I don't know what his restrictions are right now.
John, it's not a 1x6 sign that has to be a 1x6 sign.
Could be a 2x3.
It's a total,
But the number of businesses he has, really, it's gotta be down to 1x6, you know what I'm saying?
but
If it's
anytime,
16 square feet for the plaza and his first business, then he's only got X amount of room for the other businesses.
You can go 1.5 by 4.
but John, if you had a plaza that came in with
15.
with
businesses.
15 businesses, what would you do? In other words, there's always a number of businesses which just will not fit on the sign. And so we're trying to work out a compromise. Some of his businesses, at some point, can't go on the sign. And that's
Well-
going to be something that maybe he charges them more rent for sign space.
And they have to advertise based on the plaza name. He has to put a prominent plaza name out there, so he can advertise, the businesses in there can advertise based on that.
And the perfect example of that, I agree with Neil. You take, in Penardville, where Shaw's used to be. It's called Shaw's Plaza.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Does anybody not refer, I mean, has an automotive in it, it has the 2
Right.
dollar stores, and
Right,
everything
there's a whole
else.
bunch of stuff.
It's always Shaw's Plaza, and they're out of business.
Pardon me?
It's Shaw's Plaza, and they're out of business.
Right.
Out there. But everybody knows it's
Right,
Shaw's
right,
Plaza.
but everybody knows, right.
Yeah.
Although their sign does include, you know, the road sign
Vans
doesn't
and-
include all
yeah.
that. But still, I always refer to it as Shaw's Plaza. I don't
Yeah, it was
just
the
say-
anchor business for that.
Yeah.
Plaza.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably have to give the public some type of credit.
And I
You know,
think-
They kind of know where they're going
I
from.
think some other businesses doing the same thing. I'm thinking of Moody Pond Marketplace, where there's been a great effort to focus on that identification, as opposed to the individual types of activities going on there,
Yeah, once you-
because of the recognition
Yeah.
that it's gotta be a plaza.
Yeah.
It's gotta be, what is it, towns, or whatever he's gonna
Yeah.
call it.
I guess I'm okay with the 18 and 6.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep the height of 8 feet though.
Yeah, you have to with a 6-footer, so it's 6 by 6.
So you're going to 8, then at 18 and
Um.
first one too?
We're talking about 18.
No, hold on.
That's on 10.2.3, right?
Pardon me?
On 10.2.3?
I'm thinking 10.2.2, we're going to 18.
Here's what I would do on
And 6.
10.2.2. One sign to contain no more than 2 surfaces, and be no larger than 6 feet wide and 3 feet high. In other words, 18 square feet, the maximum size is 6 feet wide, 3 feet high for a single. Okay?
I'm listening.
And then for 10.2.3, it's going to be one freestanding sign to contain no more than 2 surfaces, and B, that is the sign, be no larger than 6 feet by 6 feet wide by 4 feet high, by 3 feet high if there is one business. No, that's wrong.
I don't wanna dictate the height and width on that one.
No.
But that's the whole
Because-
point of
Because
this.
they can make it wider and put signs side by side underneath it.
The whole point of the proposal is to get uniformity, and if if you're going to do what you're suggesting and it's 36 square feet, then you can have 3 by 12. 36 square feet. But that defeats, at least from my point of view, the purpose of the proposal, to make sure that one business is 6 by 3, 2 businesses is 6 by 4, 3 businesses is 6 by 5.
So if I wanted, to make my sign 5 feet wide, I couldn't do it.
You could. You can't be wider than 6, and you can't be, for a 4-business organization, you can't be higher than 6 or wider than 6. For a 3, you can't be wider than 6 or higher than 5, etc., going down to 1, which is no wider than 6, no higher than 3.
Well, if you just
smaller.
If you just specify the width, the height is gonna fit.
You could do that if you wanted to do square feet, but the point of the proposal is to get away from square footage in the village districts to talk about maximum
If
height
down
and
here you
width.
change that to 8 feet wide instead of 6 feet wide, because that gives us some flexibility on the width.
The problem with 8 feet is that I would like to see a maximum 4 or 5 width,
Yep.
but I mean, I'm trying to see what to strike the balance.
But I don't,
But the thing
when
is,
you're thinking, you're dictating the size of the sign, period.
that in the village districts, that's correct.
I don't think I think we need to leave a little leeway.
I'm not suggesting that it has to be the uniform size, I'm saying the maximum height and
To
the maximum width.
maximize the area, they have to max out to your size.
They don't have to.
To maximize the area.
Yes.
There's no way to do it without maximizing your
If
size.
they,
I think we need to give them some leeway in having a different size width and a different size height to get to the maximum area. Now, whether that's 8 feet, so be it, then they can have it a little shorter.
I understand what you're saying, Bruce. I think 8 feet is just too wide for the village district.
We should knew how big the signs were out there already.
But a lot of them, there's a
Bigger
movable,
signs, I think,
there's a movable letter sign that's gotta be 3 by 8, 3 by 7.
at least 8 feet wide,
It's at least, okay.
at
and
least 8 feet,
By
yeah.
3 anyway.
Yeah.
And that's been there for,
Craig, what's
A
the
long
current limitations on that sign? Let's say you had applied in the middle of town, is it 12 square feet?
Right now,
Yeah. Before any changes are made.
Single business is 12 square feet.
yes.
And multiple business?
20 square feet, identify each lot and business.
I think
shall
that's
be
it.
allowed in a lot. 7 each, no.
7's the height. And then there are building signs.
No, but I mean on that one sign identifying the plaza.
20 square feet, that's it.
If I had a plaza and businesses in the plaza right now, before we do any changes, what's the limitations I have?
20 square feet
Total.
total. And one,
Plus-
plus one sign in the building, 12 square foot sign on the building.
For each business.
For each
Sign out
business.
near the road can be total 20 square feet.
Yes,
it.
that's it.
correct. For a multiple business plaza.
Right.
And 12 square feet for a single business. That's current.
You wanna go to 16
18.
feet by 6.
18 for a single, and 24 for 2.
I
30 feet.
understand, I understand.
I'll be right back, I have a thought though. Let me refine my thought while I'm thinking.
You want us to take a break, Craig? Recess?
Sure, you can talk or take a break.
Don't go home, Frank.
I was optimistic. I told him maybe you'll have to come at 10. This looks like midnight or 1. Do you have to go to work tomorrow?
Oh, yeah.
What time do you guys start?
Well, yeah.
I start at 7.
What time do you get up?
6.
Yeah, same here. Yeah. But I'm only 12 minutes from work right now, so that would be a total.
That's not too bad.
And if
I
I
get up at
if I go a
3:30
little
Neil.
bit late, I got enough leeway, I can go in at like 8 if I had to.
3:30.
But that's by choice.
Yeah, it is, but if
To
I...
go to work, your business?
No, I go to the gym.
Well, that,
No?
but you could skip that, I mean, if you wanted to.
You want me to waste away or what? Could, for one day, probably wouldn't hurt anything. I guarantee I won't be there tomorrow morning.
You can visualize that, that's probably about 8 feet there.
Well, easy, these tiles are 2x4, so two of them,
Oh, they are 4, I thought they were maybe 3.
no, 2x4 tiles.
And I knew that was too
That,
big.
that whole
to be-
screen is
So
8
that's
feet
roughly
wide
8
by
by-
6 feet
that's-
high.
That's usually a 6
I
by 8
don't know
right
if those
there.
tiles are 4.
Pretty close to 6
4,
feet.
8, 12.
I think, was it Jim, made a pretty good point. If you, I agree with him standardizing it at 6 for most places, but if you had a plaza that had 4 or more instances, they could go 8 and they could subdivide their
Split it in
businesses
half.
down below and make them 1 by 4s, 2 of them, side by side. Because I could just, if Brian up there wanted to subdivide that large building that goes perpendicular to the highway into 3 separate buildings, he could possibly have 6 businesses
Or
there.
more.
Or more. I'm just
Yeah.
theorizing 6.
Yeah.
1 by 6s wouldn't work in the plumbing you're using at all. But if you had an 8 and he subdivided it 2, then he could do it. He could have 3 signs of 2 by 4 or 1 by 4s, you know what I'm saying? Or, 1 by 4 signs. And I think it's only fair that if somebody's perpendicular to the highway, they have a way of letting people know this is where I'm at.
No question.
But there again, it would have to be if you had 4 or more businesses, this sign could go to 8 feet wide.
But that blows the uniformity thing.
It does, but how many times are you gonna have a plaza with more than 4 businesses in the middle of town, or in the middle of any village district, right?
One where we walk in.
I think it's just a way of addressing, the fairness of it, because I think the subcommittee did work on, I think that was Brian's concern, was that these businesses didn't have an opportunity to be noticed there. So,
He's got a letterboard sign there, I'm surprised he hasn't been using it.
We'll have to change the subject, the sign, but change the place. I thought this was gonna be all said and done tonight.
It
I
is.
didn't realize it was a workshop for you guys.
Oh, this,
This is it.
Article 4 will be done tonight.
Yeah.
This is it.
Right, no, but I mean, at the get-go, I wasn't sure. But I just need to ask you, is there, are there changes in this that now allow Subway to put a sign out? And I guess it would be,
If Lang Tots lets them, yes.
Well,
I heard you say Wayne Tot was the issue.
Well, whoever the owner of the.
Right, no, I
Right.
understand.
I shouldn't say that.
You know, like the Shaw's Plaza.
Right,
used to-
yeah, same thing, right.
The biggest change for Subway, using them specifically, is they can put an internally lit sign up.
where?
Well, no, they,
In their window right now.
they could put it on the building.
No, but, well, I'm thinking,
No, why do you
No.
say that?
No,
No.
if this goes through, they can, in their window.
Explain.
No.
no, I'm thinking, but I'm
I
thinking.
don't see that in here. If you,
Out
if
at
you
the road.
Confusion
show
reigns,
me
I
where
can tell you
is.
that.
The biggest change for Subway is the same thing we're talking about in the Village District, where the
talking
commercial
about
could have a
a
bigger sign,
business-
and Subway can have a sign
Commercial
underneath it
business
saying
in a
Subway.
Commercial plaza.
So
That's-
they
that's the
can't
biggest
put-
change.
They can't put a sign out.
What's the issue?
I'm assuming Lane
in the
Tots is
island
commercial, am I
beside-
wrong on that?
beside
No,
one.
You're correct.
Okay.
There's a
Okay,
glass
now let's,
island.
show me how you read that. I understand how the plaza could have
same concept.
that
It's really
kind of
deteriorating here.
Any sign to be lit.
Subway.
Go back to Subway.
So almost could be internally lit, right?
So that's-
Commercial, where were we?
So that's where their sign would have to
I
be.
don't know the answer to that question. I think it should be.
3441, as we have it proposed today.
Hold it 34.
41.
For a second, I'm in the wrong.
That's the way I read it. Now, maybe I'm reading something wrong into that. It's a good question. They don't have to be, but I think the opportunity should be there.
Right there.
That's correct.
That's what John
That
was
says
quoting.
that in the commercial district, a sign can be lit.
Yes, internally lit.
That's correct.
Yep.
Now show me where it says that Subway can have a sign on its building, in its windows, except for an open, closed sign, or in front of it. Okay,
Show me where it doesn't.
let's go to
Where it doesn't,
Let's go to commercial district.
You better get back on subject.
first, 3410-3 is commercial.
Okay. 3410-3. In the commercial district, you can have one primary sign to contain no more than 2 surfaces, and each surface to contain no more than 32 square feet shall be allowed on a lot containing 1 business.
Okay.
Notwithstanding, there may be 16 square feet changeable letter side mounted under the primary sign, but that doesn't apply to your situation.
We're talking,
So where does it say that
Well-
Subway can have a sign?
well, we're talking 3410-3-4, when there are 2 or more businesses on the lot.
Right?
That's,
You get additional 16 square feet.
The freestanding sign contained 32 plus an additional 16
per business.
per business.
Yep.
We're getting out of order again, guys.
Yeah, well, I thought I'd take the opportunity to.
Just to finish this up real quick.
Because I don't think that whole sentence is worded right the way Neil wrote it. I think there's some issues.
Halfway down, in addition, each business shall be allowed a sign not to exceed 16 square feet. Each such.
You're right. Thank you. You are right.
So,
So they could have an internally lit sign of 16 square feet mounted across the front of their business if the plaza owner allows it.
the zoning regulations would allow it.
The zoning regulations would allow it.
Yes.
Not the way I read it, but we'll get back to that.
Okay. Back to
I
village.
promise. Back to village. So,
So we're still on 3410-2-2.
yes, we are. 2-2 and 2-3 together, yes.
Yes, got it.
I understood there was a little discussion that a plaza would have, could have a plaza with 4 more businesses or 4 businesses, whatever the conversation would have a wider sign than a less than 4.
That was what John was suggesting.
That's actually what I was going to suggest also, was that multiple businesses get a wider sign. And then you wouldn't have to put it as high.
I
6 to 8. I don't think you're going to notice a huge difference from 6 to 8, personally.
I think we're noticing a huge difference from the size signs we have now to what we're proposing, whether it's 6 or anything beyond 6. I mean, you guys can ultimately vote how you wish, and we all will, but I can't support anything wider than 6, even if it's in a multiple business plaza. I hear the argument, but I'm trying to balance, as each of us is, the 2 needs, and my balance just does not allow me to go beyond 6. My personal preference is very, very different, but I think that's what's that's the maximum width that would be consistent with village districts. And it doesn't matter to me whether there are a lot of businesses or a small number of businesses in terms of the width of the sign and the bulk of the sign. And we've all agreed that at some point, there are so many businesses in a plaza when it's gotta be the plaza sign.
That's right.
There's also a point where there's so many businesses, he can go for a variance. Just throwing it out there. There is ways around the regulations.
But that's true today.
Right, right. I've thought for you, since Subway went in there, I thought they should apply for a variance. But I think I've said that in the microphone a couple times, but
Unfortunately, the owner of that doesn't live in town, so he doesn't watch this.
never mind. I'm not going to go there. So we're talking going from 12 square feet for one
Which is
business
a 3x4 sign.
to either 18 or 20 square feet.
And the thought behind the 20 was 3x4 to 4x5,
Right.
which is a 1 foot up and out difference.
But you're not saying 5 feet.
No,
Right.
the proposal that the subcommittee came up with did not specify
With a
with
width.
their heights.
But he almost added 6x3.
No, I don't, that's true, but I'm talking about the maximum width.
Mm-hmm.
John is talking about total square footage.
Yep.
And you were too. Any width, any height, your choice, as long as you don't exceed the square footage.
Just because it's the way it's always
That's the way we've always done
historically
it.
been.
So
But-
you want to add uniformity to it.
In the village districts, I want to make sure that the signs don't become so different that they take away from the district. the uniformity tends to mitigate that, I think. I
So-
think, I'd love to see it maximum of 5 feet or 4 feet, but see where
So,
you
so if I,
guys
so
are.
it'd be okay for me to put up a 3x6 sign rather than a 6x3 sign?
No, 6 is max. Yes, you could do,
No, you couldn't, you're maxing out the 3 on the height.
right. I'd be willing, if,
What do you mean? I want to put my sign next to the ground.
You'll supposedly 6 feet wide by 3 feet high, period.
but we can write it, I
Oh.
see what Craig is saying, and I don't have a problem with that. Although I'd much prefer to see them all the same width and varying heights. Because from a visual point of view, that would be, I think, less offensive than having one side 6x3 and the next one 3x6 and the third one some different size.
I don't think anybody's going to do a 3x6 sign 6 feet, with the top being 6 feet above the road, but
Well, it's above the center line, right? I mean, I'm thinking.
that's true. Above the center line, you're a foot off the ground. probably.
Certainly up.
Towns is going to be
Towns
three,
is-
3 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
Right.
He's got a heck of a
Because
hole.
Towns' sign is in a gully.
Yeah.
Right, he's going to be 3 or 4 feet up.
Seems so we could get through 3410 2.2 somehow.
You know, I don't,
No?
it doesn't sound like a big deal to me to go from 20 to 18 square feet in 2.2.
But it's
I mean,
not,
let's be real, it's 2 square feet, it's not a big deal.
Right.
It should, I won't think anybody in the village district is gonna really squabble by gaining 6 square feet, or, depending which way you look at it, gaining 6 or losing 2.
Right now, they're gaining 6.
They haven't lost anything yet.
And,
Yeah, they have a lot to say, right now they're 12.
but in order to get that, Neil is suggesting that a 3x6 sign is the way they're gonna get it.
no, 6 wide, 3 high.
No, 3x6.
And do you want to dictate that, or just suggest it?
No. What I'm trying to do, my compromise is, let's have uniformity of sign size, okay? I'll give on the square footage, so to speak, in exchange for your giving on the uniformity.
I like the idea of uniformity, it's just a matter of finding the right size. For a single business, 18, that works for me, I have no problem with that. I think everybody else agrees with that too, but the way it sounds. It's the multi-business is gonna be where it comes into play.
Multi-business, instead of 48, you go down to 36, based on what you guys have, what the subcommittee proposed was 48 for 4.5 businesses. I'm reducing that to 36 so that we have the uniformity. That's the compromise. And it will not work equally for plazas that have 8 or 9 businesses as it will for plazas that have 2 or 3 or 4 businesses.
No, nothing.
Right.
Craig, in the subcommittee, we talked briefly, I don't remember what the end result was, of having a sign that was the plaza name, a smaller sign, no more than 4 square feet, I think, that could be used just for the plaza name. I know it was talked about, but I can't remember what happened with that. It just basically a small sign that identified the name of the name of the building, if you will.
A standalone sign? Or a
Something
sign on the
top.
building?
I don't think it was discussed at that point.
I thought, yes, we had a long conversation, and obviously Brian was part of it. And I thought, and I see that's not the way this is worded really, but now you say that. We have 20 square feet plus 8 additional square feet per business. I thought we were discussing making 48 square feet of the plaza name, and he was gonna advertise the plaza name. And you were going to the plaza, you weren't gonna go to Joe's Barber Shop.
Yep.
Joe's Barber Shop is located in the plaza.
If there's that many
That's-
businesses in it, that's the smart way to do it.
Even with 4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah.
It may take time, but sooner or later, you're gonna drive by it, and you're gonna see the plaza. Every day you're gonna see this. But the way it's worded, you can't do that. I don't believe.
That wasn't what the subcommittee proposed.
No, we talked about it.
Yeah,
I know we talked about it.
But if that's the case, that's exactly the way it's, not village district, but that's exactly what the boat subways is, it's in Langcott Plaza.
Right.
But they can't put a sign up there, so it's the same exact problem.
But that's the owner's problem, that's the owner of the plaza, not
Not
us.
Yeah, not town, yeah.
We're just allowing them to do it, it's their issue if they don't.
I'm just saying, one member wanted to do it that way. So Neil, when you're talking uniformity, you're talking width and height?
Yes. For
He's
single
also-
business is 6 by 3 for.
Well, the sign
it's
has to be 6 feet wide, containing 18 square feet, whatever.
Yes.
It's also kind of dictating that they be rectangular. No ovals, no circles.
It's
Right.
no more than. It's no more
No,
than.
I
So if
know
you wanted
that.
to do an oval within the 6 by 3, or a circle within the 6 by 3, or an S shape within the 6 by 3, that's fine.
Well, if you want uniformity, why not just dictate it to be rectangular?
Because the uniformity is bulk, it has to do with the bulk, not the detail.
So we couldn't have saw blades for signs.
Say again?
You couldn't have saw blades for signs.
Correct,
Why not?
because you can't have a 6x3 circle,
We could have a small one.
It'd have to be 3 feet,
Yeah.
you have to be 3 foot around.
right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so
There-
you cannot have a circular sign.
You could have a circular sign as long as the
It's 3 by
diameter,
3?
as long as the diameter of the circle was no more than 3 feet. You could have
No,
it.
you said it had to be 6 feet wide.
No, no more than.
Well, I thought you wanted it 6
Oh.
feet, that's the way I understood
I'm,
it.
I'm assuming that most businesses would try to, would have enough to say that they'd want to fill up as much as possible of their sign with something. Even if it's blank space, it would, through color or otherwise, attract attention.
I'm in favor of the square footage, that's all.
All right, I understand.
Not telling them they're gonna have a rectangular sign.
I'm not saying they have to have a rectangular sign, I'm just specifying the maximum width and the maximum height.
But you are telling what you have to have for a sign, because you can't have anything more than, it can only be 6 feet wide, well, again,
Yes.
you can't have a 6-foot circle because that violates a 3-foot height.
You're correct.
You could have a 3 by 6 ellipse. You'd lose corners in your square footage.
And when you said saw blade, I was thinking of a two-man saw.
No.
Cross two-man saws, which you could do.
No, but
Yes, you could do that.
I'm just not in favor of doing that, that's all.
No, I understand.
I'd rather leave it, yeah, I'd rather say 18 square, and that's your number.
Did we agree on 3410 2.2? Was that done?
Oh, no.
That's
what we're
not done
talking-
either.
No,
Talking about
no.
the two of them, they're together.
Why not separate them and get this behind us?
Well,
This is so simple. 3410 just seems like it's nothing much.
Because the two are related, Chuck, in the sense that 2.2 deals with a single business sign, and 2.3 deals with multiple businesses, and the two are related.
Well, they're related, but we could still, why don't we just lay one to rest here quick?
why don't we just go 18 square feet, maximum 6 feet wide?
Thank you.
That way, if you want to make it, I don't know, no, pi r squared, do they make a 36-inch? I could figure it out.
I'll go along with that.
On
2-2?
2.2.
If freestanding, the height of the sign shall not exceed 6 feet from the center line of the road. Where would we put the size? Oh, I'll back up one sign to contain no more than 2 surfaces, each surface to contain no more than 18 square feet with a maximum width of 6 feet.
No square.
Not square, just 6.
Yes, maximum width, 6 feet.
And it can't exceed the height limitations, which is 6 feet from the center line. So the 18 is square feet.
Yes.
Okay.
So one sign to contain no more than 2 surfaces, and each surface to contain no more than 18 square feet
With a maximum
With a
width.
maximum width of 6 feet.
Yes,
If
shall be,
freestanding,
shall
height of
be,
the
shall be
sign.
allowed on a lot containing one business. Yes. If freestanding, the height of the sign shall not exceed 6 feet from the center line elevation of the road to the top of the sign. Everything else stays the same. Then we jump down to 2.3, we make it 18 square feet, plus 6 square feet to go along with the maximum width 6 feet. I say 8 feet above the center line of the road.
8 feet above the center line?
Yes.
Plus an additional 6 square feet?
So if there are
Yes.
2 or more businesses on a lot, one freestanding sign to contain no more than 2 surfaces, and each surface to contain no more than 18 square feet, plus an additional 6 square feet per business, identifying the lot plaza, and each business.
Let me stop. Are we putting a maximum width on the multi-business?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. He didn't read it, that's why I questioned it. Okay.
I'm sorry, okay.
So each surface to contain no more than 18 square feet with a maximum width of 6 feet plus.
An additional 6 square feet per business, identifying, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Such sign shall not exceed 8 feet in height from the center line elevation of the road. I don't know if you need to have width. 'Cause we
No,
have-
that was one of your typos.
Space between the sign and the house.
And not to
Instead,
exceed,
instead of,
and not to exceed 36 square feet. In addition, each independent business gets 12.
I thought we struck the word independent.
Sorry,
yes.
you're correct. Each business may erect one sign not to contain more than 2 surfaces.
The rest of it stays the same.
Right.
So they can still have the 12 square feet
In
sign.
theory, they
Yes.
could take a 2x6 sign and put it
Okay.
perpendicular to the building.
Why are we putting
Or
a,
one,
going back to the, are we still on the uniformity thing?
Yes,
Okay,
we are. We're uniformly making signs a maximum of 6 feet wide.
okay. Height-wise, should we make a single business
No.
8 feet?
no.
But we're doing it for.
The plaza needs the room for the 30 extra signs.
Yeah, plaza needs a room.
So if they open another business and they can go 2 feet higher and then start over.
Yes. It's called cut off the post, scab a piece in.
It's easier just to have 8 feet and then go down from there.
That would work too.
Yes, but we can't if we do that.
If you think ahead far enough to do
2
that.
feet and pull it up.
Yeah.
That's what I did to my
Slide
mailbox
out,
when I got a letter this fall.
Slide out, throw some dirt, put it back in. Good.
Hey Craig, I got a question to be consistent with all the way the wording is and all the other ones, where it says not. We have no in most of the other ones.
Yeah, that's coming up under the grammar checker. It says contain not more. It should be
Contain no more.
No more?
no more.
I think both of them are correct, but whichever way you want to do it. Your grammar checkers,
Well, all the other ones say no more than.
Then we're sticking with no then.
we'll stick
Just,
with no.
and just in this particular one, it says not.
Got it. One sign to contain no more than 2 surfaces, each surface to contain no more than 18 square feet with a maximum width of 8 feet. Freestanding lighting, 6 feet from center line elevation of the road to the top of the sign attached to the building. The height of the building, if there are 2 or more businesses on a lot, one freestanding sign to contain no more than 2 surfaces, and each surface to contain no more than 18 square feet. Maximum width of 6 feet plus an additional 6 square feet per business. Identifying the lot plaza of each business shall be allowed on a lot. Such signs shall not exceed 8 feet in height from the center line elevation of the road to the top of the sign. And we need to change, John, that grammatically, that sentence that in
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
34-10-2-3.
Yep.
This 5th line down, such signs shall not exceed 8 feet in height from the center line elevation of the road to the top of the sign, and there's something wrong with the rest of that.
And not exceed.
And shall not exceed 36
Yeah.
square feet.
Okay.
And take the 2 out.
Take the 2 out. In addition, each business may erect one sign to contain no more than 2 surfaces attached to the building lobby to parallel to the vertical wall of the building, placing the farmer porch. No part of any sign attached to the wall shall be higher than 75% of the height.
So I got a question. Well, no question yet. What's everybody think of that?
Amen.
Okay,
Amen.
thank you. So if I have a plaza in town, I could put a 36 square foot up sign up advertising the plaza and no businesses?
Correct.
Thank you.
because you're talking about what the sign says,
Content,
the content.
Okay.
we can't dictate content.
You got 36 square feet of plaza, or you could have nothing about the plaza, and 36 square feet of business names.
I don't think that's what that says, but okay.
No?
Because plus an additional 6 square feet per business identifying the lot/plaza and each business.
If you struck that phrase,
And.
it would not make a quid of difference to this, to what we've done.
If you struck out,
Identifying the
identifying.
lot/plaza and each business.
That's true.
It would make no difference.
Just eliminate between those two commas.
Yeah, that really is, no need for that little clause there.
Right.
It means nothing.
Well, it means I can't put a 36 square
Well,
foot sign up.
There's a little 6-foot section, the 6-foot sign has to identify the plaza and the business,
So let's delete that?
right?
Yes,
From
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
yes,
to
business. Oop.
Right.
Yeah, somewhere.
Close to there,
there. Just delete that?
Yeah.
yes.
And now delete the S and
Yep.
the 2 commas.
There you go.
Another, get rid of the other comma. Yes.
Jesus, and you're doing it one hand? I'm impressed.
What is his right hand?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
It helps. Okay. Commercial.
And John, while you were away,
We-
Ricky did a few things
Yeah.
with that computer, so be very careful.
Spanish.
Where are we now?
Commercial, 341032.
341032, yes.
The way I read this, if there, nope. One primary sign contain no more than 2 surfaces, each surface to contain yabba dabba do, notwithstanding provisions of this. The provisions of 3496. So I can have an animated changing metric sign, electric moving sign, I can have a stationary letter sign, I can have
No.
reflected.
Where do you see that?
You says notwithstanding provisions of Articles 3495 and 96. 3495 says I can't have electronic moving or stationary letter signs, I can't have reflective and phosphorescent signs.
Well, we just changed that,
Hold it. 30.
back up, John, 34.9, 5 and 6.
I think you may be right.
Yeah, we just changed 3495.
Yes, we did. Thank you.
Right.
If you read that, notwithstanding that, according to the way I read it, notwithstanding provisions of Article 3495 means 3459 does not apply to this paragraph or to that sentence. I don't care what that says up there. I can put an electronic sign, I can put an animated sign, I can have Bugs Bunny jumping across, whatever I want to.
John, would you go back to show us the language we have now
It's there.
for 95, oh, sorry,
It's up there now.
except as provided. So if we were,
9.6 is okay, it's the 9.5 you don't like, Craig.
No,
No,
Craig put down that there, but we wanted to insert something in
yes,
this to allow
yes.
internally lit signs.
so
No,
Exactly.
I know that, but the internal lit sign needs to be in here, but I think
What would-
9.6 is also okay.
what would happen if we said,
How about if we said at the end of containing one business, this sign may be internally lit? And cross out notwithstanding.
what would happen if we kept just the way it's reading, but notwithstanding the provisions, et cetera, there may be a 16 square foot
Well, no,
movable
the-
letter.
what about the 32 square foot sign? Isn't that lit? It certainly
That could be
is.
internally lit,
Where does it say that? It doesn't say that.
because
I say strike the
Because
provisions.
it says in 9.5, where is that? Oh, you have it up there.
He did.
It says, except as provided.
It's gotta be in this.
So, okay, except as provided in 34.10.3 and 10.4. 34.10.3,
Doesn't state that.
So we need to add the language to 34, 10, 3, and 4.
Yeah, like Craig said, we gotta get rid of this notwithstanding provisions.
yeah, that notwithstanding
Just say
provision,
Internally lit signs are,
one primary sign to contain no more than 2 surfaces, each surface to contain no more than 30 square feet. Somewhere in that sentence, we gotta say this sign may be internally lit, and I was just gonna cross out, I was gonna say shall be lit in one lot, period. This sign may be internally lit, period. Cross out notwithstanding. In addition, there may be one internally lit changeable letter sign. Or we could say one primary internally lit sign, I don't care.
Okay.
How about one primary sign not to contain no more than 2 services, and each service to contain no more than 32 square feet and can be internally lit shall be allowed.
No, let's do it in a separate sentence. Craig's right.
After,
business, put a period.
yes, this sign may be internally lit,
Exactly.
period. Cross out notwithstanding.
Notwithstanding the provisions of articles such as.
Yes, the rest of that sentence.
you
Ma-
say,
make the
this
I-
sign may be internally lit, comma, in addition, there may be 16 square foot changeable letter sign.
Yes.
No, I was gonna make a period after lit and then capital in addition.
I thought it was comma.
Okay, whichever, you guys are the grammar people.
Yeah, now remove everything until it says,
Until where?
it says, 16,
The in addition,
Leave in addition.
Yeah.
There.
Exactly, get rid of that.
yeah, but
I put a comma after lit.
you're saying internally lit twice right there.
When I just
No,
go further down.
they're
and say-
two separate things.
Two separate things. It's gotta be two different
This
things.
sign referring to the first sentence in the
Right.
32 square feet. This
Period.
sign may be internally lit, period.
Period,
In
yes.
addition, there may be one internally lit changeable letter sign to contain no more than.
Yes.
Where did that language come from?
Well, that's what I sent to you a week before you did yours.
That wasn't done in any of the meetings. That wasn't in her minutes.
May
Or I
not-
would have put it in there.
It may not have been in our minutes, but it was in my scribbles.
I'm going off of an email that was sent to me, so.
Oh, man. I'm not disagreeing with that, Craig, but it wasn't in the minutes, and I only was allowed to put in what was in the minutes.
Clip from 3410 to internally lit.
I
Yeah.
got that. Okay. So you may have done something very important here, because I was
That's
gonna
why I
raise the
wrote,
same issue.
that's why I wrote in yours, no, see mine, no, see mine.
Okay. This sign may be internally lit. Would you mind putting an extra space in front of that I, just for those of us who are
Old school?
old school? Yes.
Yes.
In addition, there may be one internally lit changeable letter sign. And what does a changeable letter sign mean, so we're all clear?
Have we just, are we going between changeable and movable?
Yeah, like the gas prices, I think they're the same thing.
Yeah, but are we,
$2 to $1.99.
in this,
Prime rib, $8.99.
Exactly.
are we using the same terminology in this article?
Exactly. That's what
my
I-
concern.
I don't know if we're using the same terminology.
Let's go over to,
Search.
Nope,
no, hold on.
we've got movable letter and changeable.
Well, message board signs, okay.
Okay, this is the only instance of the word movable
No,
in this
in some of the
document.
prohibited signs, hold on.
3496 is.
3495.
3496 specifies movable.
Make it changeable.
I would say changeable. Yeah,
So-
that should be changeable.
We need to put, no, I think what you want to say in 10.3, whatever it is the exact same language that we have in 9.6. Message
Oh.
board signs with movable letters. That's what we're adding, right? It's a message
Well,
board
I
sign.
think at the moment we want to know, are we using the word changeable letter or movable letter?
I would say
That's,
changeable, not movable.
we're trying to figure out what term to use first.
I see.
I think
So
I-
you would make it all the same?
Yeah, I would change 9.6 to say changeable.
Agreed.
Right.
Movable to me just means you can, yeah. Prime can be
Would
$9.99,
it
but
be helpful if we said manually changeable?
No.
So that we're talking, so that it's very clear it can't be electronic? Because somebody could argue that a changeable letter is changeable by an electronic as opposed to a manual means. And I think what we're talking about here is not electronically changeable letters.
No, we're not.
no, we're not.
Okay, so if we say on 3496, message board signs with manually changeable letters,
I'll go with that.
and use that same language in 10.2.3, so that what we're getting is that somebody has to go out there and say roast beef, $1.79, sale.
I'm just trying to think if there's any other instance where
9.5 addresses electronic message signs, I believe. I was gonna say, if you put manual there, then are we prohibiting electronically changing letter signs?
No, but we're talking 9.6,
Yes, under prohibited signs.
correct. In other words, if we use the same language in 3496 as we do in 3410, whatever it is, then it's clear that we're talking about something other than electronic message board signs, which are covered in 9.5. Because we talk about all internally lit and electronic signs, including, and then there's a whole list of things.
Do you have to put in except as provided in Articles 3410.3 and 4 and
No,
3496 also?
I don't.
Because you are allowing that, what you're doing now.
Generally, when courts interpret statutes, the specific overrides the general. So if there's a general ban in section A, but a specific exception in section B, the specific exception will take precedence over the general ban.
What,
Bill, I don't understand the difference between 9.5 and 9.6. In 9.5, you're stating that in 3410.3 and 10.4, you'll find something different than what we're
Yes.
stating here.
I think it's.
In 9.6, you're not stating that.
You're correct, and I think that we would be better off, but this board thinks otherwise, to eliminate the exception there. I would keep 9.5 saying all internally lit signs are banned, that's the general rule, and then there's a specific section in commercial that says, not here, we allow internally lit signs for commercial signs.
But I think it's clearer if we put that except as provided in 9.6.
I do too.
So do I.
I do too, because
It's fine with me, I
me
think,
being a rookie reading that, I would say, no, I can't have that.
Yeah.
fine. It basically is directing you to look to some other article
Right.
for the
Right.
exception.
Exactly.
It's like a signpost.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a changing message or electronic moving and
That's
a
why-
changeable letter sign?
That's why Neil's saying we gotta put manual in front of that.
What's a changing message sign? It doesn't say it's electronic, doesn't say it's manual.
Which one are you reading?
9.5.
In 9.5,
Electronic changing message sign would,
Oh, yeah, never mind. Internally lit electronic signs including, never mind.
right,
Obviously, that's electronic.
right. So in
So
9.6,
manual
you
should be
use
there.
manual board
Yes, I agree
signs
now.
with, message board signs with manually changeable letters.
Yes.
But insert the X.
Yeah,
except for
put- yes.
Put that exception.
3410.3 with that. It's just insert that.
Yes.
that way at least it directs them where it's okay.
So you like that language, huh, John? That concept?
I've been staring at computers since 7 a.m. I'm not reading anymore.
Swing.
Except as provided in message board signs with manually changeable letters excluding such
Sounds fine
signs
to
that
me.
are poor. Got it, okay.
So now we go back to 3410.3.2.
Copy that manually changing letter part first. So you get any clipboard.
Yes, next line down.
Changing letter part.
Right there, manually.
So, one primary sign, 2 surfaces, 32 square feet,
Light it.
containing 1 business. The sign may be internally lit. In addition, there may be 1 internally lit, manually changeable letter sign to contain no more than 2 surfaces, and each surface to contain no more than 16 square feet mounted under the primary sign, 48 square feet. No part of any sign attached to a wall shall be higher. Hey, you can't read. Shall
Sorry, I
be
just tried to
higher than 75% of the height of the building, shall not exceed 12 feet from the center line elevation of the road to the top of the sign.
Yes.
Okay. Craig, I want to thank you for doing that, because the way this had been originally drafted, it was unclear whether the 16 square feet was total, and if a guy wanted to have both sides, he would have to do 1 by
Yes.
8 on side 1 and 1 by 8 on side 2. This
Yes.
makes it clear he can do 1 by 16 or 2 by 8
Right,
on
and
each of the sides.
and light everything,
Right.
yeah.
341032 good?
Yep,
Yes.
deleted 4 years ago. So we got the same thing in 3.4, 3410.3.4.
This is in the commercial zone, right?
Yes.
Did I have a problem with this one?
Right there, you gotta put. This sign may be internally lit.
Take out the notwithstanding part.
Then delete it after he spells internally, right? There you go. Period. Delete a whole bunch of stuff.
Tell me when to stop.
Stop when you get to the word "in."
Slow down.
Capitalize.
Capital I, you're good.
And space.
Oh yeah, he needs a space.
You know they stopped doing that now?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, now everything's
But
down to
Word-
single
but-
space.
Man-
But
Manually.
Word doesn't say it's wrong.
Manually.
I agree. Apparently, that's the new way employers are age discriminating. Double space versus single space.
If I double space, I don't get hired?
Nope, because you're old. That's the way employers are now age discriminating.
They don't have to look at me?
Nope.
No, they just look at how you...
They look at your resume, and if they see double space, they know you're old school.
Okay.
By the way, what is the break point in age between old school and non-old school?
I guess it's double space.
No, but what group of people do? Do you double space?
I was taught double space when I graduated. You don't
So
want
you're
to know
old.
when.
You're old school.
Yes.
Got it.
You don't want to know when I graduated.
He's old school?
He's old
Yep.
school.
We're very old school.
We're very old
Okay.
school. Okay, this sign, in addition, there may be one internally defined change, letter sign, no more than 2 square feet mounted on the primary sign over 112. Whoa, how do we get 112 square feet from 96 square feet?
Additional changeable letter signs.
No, but
96 and 16.
got it, okay. In addition.
I had trouble with that math when I was typing. I really
Hey,
did.
John, the next line down, in addition, comma, each business,
Yeah, too many things going on. Okay, where am I going?
right where your cursor is,
Yep.
in front of the word each,
Yep.
comma needs to be placed there. Thank you. In addition, each business will be allowed some 16, that's a building.
The request has
Yes.
been made to change all the words of lit to illuminated.
I don't have a problem with that. What's the thinking?
This lit seems kind of,
Old school?
old league.
What, you mean if you can get a 5-syllable word as opposed to a 1, you think you're a better person for it?
Done.
Make sure that inadvertently, that lit was really the right word there.
Oh, killing me, Neil.
Okay.
Is it clear then in the case of Lang Dot Center that each business
correct.
at Lang Dot Center could have a internally lit sign on the big sign, correct?
Yes.
But in addition, each business in a plaza, in a commercial, John, tell me if I'm wrong, if, in a commercial district, can have a sign attached to the building where it's located, that is 16 square feet, and that could be internally lit. So if Subway wanted to put I think they have one actually, on the front of their building.
Not a internally lit.
So they could have in effect 2 signs
One at the road, one on the building.
If the plaza owner agreed.
Right. Yes, they could have a 16 square foot sign out at the road.
As well as on the sign
And-
on the plaza.
Right, the two signs, both 16 square feet, building and
Yep.
on the
That's all
plaza.
of them. All right.
Now, you didn't have a height restriction on that sign, I noticed. You don't have a height restriction?
It is, it's 12 feet.
Is it?
At the bottom of the paragraph,
Yes.
last
Oh,
last
okay.
line.
All right, yeah, I didn't see it.
Why are we increasing the height from 8 to 12? Because the sign is bigger?
You got a lot more.
Yes.
So currently we're going from a 4x8 sign, two sides, 64 square feet, to the maximum size would be 9 plus by 9 plus, almost 10 by 10.
Okay.
That's what we're doing right now. Right
In
now,
the commercial district.
in
Yes.
a commercial district, we're going from a 4x8 to a 10 by 10.
Or any combination thereof.
Yeah, but I mean, that's
Yes.
the basic bulk size. Plus, it would be 10 and a half by 10 and a half if you include the letter sign. And that letter sign can only be underneath, am I correct?
Yes.
Are we
Cannot
on
be on
30
top.
Are we on 341034?
I hope so.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because,
Am I missing something?
no, it just didn't exist before, so that's why I'm curious. I just want to make sure
No, it did not, you're right, it did not exist before.
I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right, well,
No, it did exist before.
this is the current one this is the current zoning ordinance that's listed on the website. I downloaded this morning.
It wasn't there. We talked about that last meeting.
But, if you look at,
You get 1033 and
I have
Oh, what are you doing?
10.34 in mine.
I've got a 10.34 in mine.
so the website's not accurate then.
That's possible.
The website's showing it March 2014 official. You can't barely see it if you look up the air conditioner. The file name says March 2014, so the website's out of date.
I'm sorry, I do not have one here.
No, you think that,
Did we create 341034 in the?
But
we talked about that last
But
meeting.
I have something,
Okay.
but if you look at the version that you have up here, look at it, it says amended 3/8/2011.
That's, I don't know where it came from, so
But I have that on my sheet also.
I wonder how I got that in there.
copy and paste.
I don't know.
I don't think that belongs there.
No, I don't think it does either.
I think it was a copy and paste that
Because
somebody did.
we had a discussion,
Hey, guys.
oh, I know where it came from.
I can't believe, look, if 10.34 didn't currently exist,
Right,
that would mean we would be only allowing one sign
yep,
of 32 square feet, period, no
Yep.
matter how many businesses there were in the commercial district? I
No.
don't- I don't,
No.
Look at 34, up here up on the board. If there are two more independent businesses, then, so we split it up in the subcommittee.
they were allowed a second sign on the building. They were allowed a sign on the building. Currently, you're allowed one sign, two surfaces,
plus.
32 square feet, plus a sign on the building, like Langtot's has.
Okay.
So you
So
have,
you-
so-
I
or
see.
Subway,
Got
so
it.
you have
The old
Langtot's.
341032 addressed both single and multiple businesses. We split it up to separate articles. Or
No, it
separate-
didn't.
Separate.
It didn't give second businesses a sign out in the road.
That's correct.
No, but it
gave them-
addresses
It
multiple
didn't-
businesses.
It did address it, but it didn't give us the multiple businesses.
I agree.
Okay. And what I did is I copied and pasted 341033 down below, edited it to make it a 4,
And forgot
and
that.
started typing.
Yep.
And when we had a discussion last time whether we should change 1033 or add a 34, and no, we should add a 34 because in the future you need to know there was a different 33. Anyway.
Okay.
Whew.
I just want to make sure that amendment or whatever that was gone.
Yes.
Could somebody clue me into where the commercial districts are roughly on, and I don't mean throughout the town, but on 114, 77, 149?
Great that the officials don't have the one there.
Like every time I look for it, I keep saying I should earmark it. There it is. This is the only page that comes out real easy. If you can read it. Not very many of them.
The red ones.
Realizing the map's old.
Yeah.
Some of those commercials are gone.
So we've got a chunk of commercial land, and a chunk of industrial land right at the entrance to Weare Center, on the downside of Mount William, of 114.
Brownie's Pit.
Yeah, Brownie's Pit is
Brownie's.
industrial.
Brownie's Pit is industrial, and across the road,
The bank,
The bank.
There's a little bit of that
right,
Duck Pond subdivision has some commercial land beside it.
Nana's is commercial, I believe, or is that,
Yeah.
Yeah, she is.
Nana's
Yes.
is commercial? Okay.
Dimitri's will probably be commercial.
Yes.
no,
No?
No, it's
It
no
doesn't
spot
show.
zones.
it doesn't show on this
I
map.
just asked her, she said she's in commercial. It was not in the district.
This is an old
Right.
In the
map.
village.
Oh, okay. I'm troubled by a 300% increase in the size of the, more, a 400% increase, almost a 400% increase in the size of the commercial signs. Instead of going to a maximum of 96, could we limit that to 64 plus the 16?
No.
No,
Commercial
signs
districts
are
need signs.
dramatically Way too small for,
Really?
yeah.
8 by 8 is too small.
For a 50 mile an hour zone?
Yeah.
I think so, yes.
Absolutely.
And
Okay.
and it is commercial. That's what we want there.
I'm not hearing any flexibility. Let's move on. Okay, industrial districts.
We got the same thing with the notwithstanding in the industrial. Down.
Oh, okay. Well, are we, so we're done with 10.3, did we change anything in 10.3.4?
Yes,
Yes,
I pointed to you and said,
Something,
We took out that notice.
this sign to be internally lit,
gotcha.
manually
Okay.
changeable signs, deleted the notwithstanding.
And everybody's happy with the way it's worded now?
no.
Everybody.
But
Almost every.
All but one?
The board consensus.
the consensus is happy, that's okay.
All but one?
All right, so moving on to 34.10.4.2 now?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, so notwithstanding to in addition.
You need to put
Yes.
aluminum signs are okay.
Right there, you need to say this sign may be internally lit.
Add in your
Internally
space.
illuminated.
Internally illuminated.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Well, you can type lit and then replace it, like you did the other times.
And just in case we screwed up on lit, we would be able to change that at the next meeting, because it would be a,
It's a type
Yeah,
of
that's a
grammatical-
grammatical thing. Next line down after illuminated manually changeable letter sign. Right, we went from 12 to 10 to 12 feet, right?
Which is the same as the commercial.
Yes.
And those signs attached to the building, could they be internally lit also? And illuminated?
If it's in the industrial district, I don't see why not.
You did that commercial, right? You allowed those to be internally.
yes.
Did we?
Yeah, we had that discussion a little bit ago.
Would you go back and
Yes.
make sure that we in fact allow that in the commercial district?
I think you wrote it in there.
It says.
Somewhere in that line, you should have internally lit.
We specify it up here, we specify it here.
I think John's right.
Yeah.
In front of the word "no part of any sign," put in this sign may be internally illuminated.
Is there a way we can combine them all into just one statement somewhere in that paragraph?
Maybe we could, and maybe that's something legitimately to do next time, because it's just a grammatical
Right.
kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
I
that
agree.
would
Right.
be considered grammatical at that point, not in?
If we're not changing anything
If you're not changing,
substantive,
right, if you're not changing the substance of the article, we
Okay.
can do it. It's just not grammatical and typos, it's nothing
so if you
substantial.
think that can be done better, then you've got a couple of weeks to work it out.
You did that on the other one, I think.
No. I don't think we did.
I will in a moment.
The commercial zone wasn't improved.
Right before no part,
Right,
correct.
yes.
Wait.
Right.
Condition number 1. No, that's the wrong place. I don't think we have anything in there about individual signs. Isn't it the section before that, perhaps? One primary,
Oh, it is for a single business, so.
right, so it's not an issue?
No.
Okay. So go down to the multiple, to 3.3 or 3.4, whatever it is.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's just one.
3.4, 2 or more businesses, each business allowed a sign not to exceed 16, attached, may be internally illuminated. Okay. That covers Subway.
Yes.
Okay.
Done with 3-4?
No.
Okay.
Where's this, okay, yes, I'm done.
Okay. Now we're on, are we still on 4-2 or did we finish 4-2?
We nailed it, but we didn't say we nailed
I
it.
don't think you got that internally lit part stuck in there yet, did you?
Yeah.
I don't see it.
Thermally illuminated manual changeable.
That 20 square feet, we need to put it in there somewhere.
Right. Before the no part. Yeah, there.
Put it there, must have disappeared.
Yeah, you got it right there. That's this one, okay. You just put that in. My eyes missed that part.
Okay, I'm taking it out.
No,
No, put it back.
my eyes missed the part where you put it in.
Oh! Quit, damn it. All right,
Okay,
happy?
Yeah.
more or less. Yes.
And is there anything else?
Yes, but there wasn't before.
I don't understand why 4.4 exists. Could you guys explain? Because it seems, no, I understand. It seems to conflict with 4.2. I thought 4.2 deals with multiple businesses. I don't understand. There was an
doesn't-
effort here to be parallel to commercial, but I think we treat in 4.2 for the industrial district, we treat both single business industrial lots and multiple business industrial lots in that same
There's
paragraph.
multiple businesses there.
Yeah, so I don't understand why 4.4 is there. I read the minutes, I wasn't here, I read the minutes, and John was looking for the parallelism, and I got that. But I don't know that they're parallel, so maybe somebody could explain. Remember, this gives any industrial lot 2 signs. 1 sign of 100 square feet, or 2 signs totaling 100 square feet. Okay? In addition,
Yes.
they get the manual, internally illuminated, manually changeable letter sign.
Right.
And then in addition, for 2 or more businesses, there's a sign on the building.
Yeah?
Okay? What are you trying to do in 4.4? You've taken away in 4.4 the fact they can have 2 or more, they can have 2 freestanding signs, 1 or 2. You've only said they can have 1 here. You haven't increased the size at 100 square feet. And then there's something about 96 square feet.
I think 34.4, I think 4.4 was supposed to be scratched.
It can be.
No, it wasn't supposed to be, because it was never.
I think you should scratch it. I think it conflicts with the other
Did
thing.
it exist before?
No,
No,
that looks like it came out of the,
Commercial.
I think I copied and pasted it in there.
You did. 10.4.4 did not exist in the previous.
No, it didn't. No.
So can we delete that? Because if you're not gonna delete it, it conflicts
way
with
wrong.
4.2.
Don't delete it yet, hang on.
I
I
haven't-
just deleted it. 2 days.
Okay, if you have two businesses, right?
Yep.
You get a 100 square foot sign.
If you have one business, you get a 100 square foot sign. In 2.2.
That's what
4.2.
I'm talking about, 4.2.
No.
If you have two businesses, you get a 100 square foot sign plus another 16 square feet,
No.
changeable letters.
Regardless of the number of businesses you have, you
You
get
got
two
100
signs totaling 100 square feet,
Right, plus another 16 square feet.
plus another 16.
Right. If you have two businesses, the only other sign you get is on the buildings.
Correct.
If you have 20 businesses, you have
Two signs.
two signs. The
100
rest,
square
the rest
feet.
on the rest are on the buildings.
Right. And in 4.4, if there are two or more businesses, you get one freestanding sign. Wait a second. I just had a choice of two.
yeah.
You just took my choice away. Okay. Each one to contain more than 32 square feet. Whoa! This is a cut and paste job, and I think it's.
Oh, it certainly is.
Well, not only that, but I think you're contradicting, if you go down to the third or fourth sentence there, where it says the maximum size can be 96 square feet.
Exactly.
Okay, take it
It
out.
seems like it's smaller than the 100 that was allotted in the
Exactly.
original sentence. So
Delete it.
Gone.
Moving on.
Moving on. We're done. That's the only
Yeah,
thing
we
we
didn't
changed.
touch Clinton Grove.
No, the only
No.
other thing is
The
3412
severability.
severability,
Yes.
and that's standard boilerplate.
Okay.
May I call my wife and ask her to come get me?
Well, we still got more to do.
Oh, jeez, you're right.
Not much, but
If
by the
you
time she
decide
gets
to
here.
this-
you're all done with the sign, all right?
Yeah.
Yes, I think we are, yes.
No,
We
no,
are?
wait, don't
Oh,
leave.
no.
Don't leave, John.
Oh, we have a definition now of
There's some
sign.
definitions that you gotta,
Alright, so I'm saving this.
That's a good idea.
Here's a copy, John, if you want. I got a spare copy of,
Rename this one too.
I mean, you upgraded it?
you
All-
can
all the
call it
definitions
final
were changing.
version, John.
Oh. Oh, these
Send me
signs.
final version.
yes.
Never do that.
You were quick to answer that.
Don't be such a pessimist.
Article 34.1716. There,
Didn't-
Would you email that to all of us?
I will.
Thank you.
At this rate, it'll be tomorrow.
No, that's fine.
Yes, that's
None
fine.
of us are gonna wanna look at it tonight.
I don't wanna look at it anymore tonight. Alright, so we're going to,
Definitions,
That's the one.
yes. Neil sent something around, or handed out, whichever it was, sent something around.
Um,
And you basically just fixed a couple corrections and added 3 or more, or
Yeah,
not
but
more
I-
than 11.
But there's a basic premise here. Right now,
I agree with what you did.
okay,
okay, here's Neil's.
Yes, that's the one you want, I think that's the one you want to look at.
right.
Okay, so let me close this one up. Okay, so this is the version Neil emailed out.
Right.
And I think the 11 and 12 was in keeping with what State Liquor Commission had or something. Didn't it, or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you make the change of not more than 11, then you're saying a bed and breakfast is between 4 and 11. Anything beyond that is a hotel.
Right.
Right.
And the reason for distinguishing that is, if you turn over to the next page,
Because Neil kicked them out of there.
2434, these are permitted uses in the commercial districts. And what I'm doing